Socially, the queen wasp is on level with a black widow spider.
The creative urge at its most primitive. Enjoy yourself. Where the hilarious enjoy the horrifying. A woman of fantastic desires.
You're creative.
Yeah, they're going crazy.
Beatniks at their bawdiest. Love is art is love.
Miss Darling will kill her and tear her body to shreds.
From the queen wasp.
No, you're gonna shoot me! Don't shoot!
Supposing a more powerful form of royal jelly could dictate.
Come to the land of living dreams, where realists dream of the unreal. And demanding fantastic results. It's the weirdest and the wildest.
I don't want to make statues anymore.
Sponsoring a scientist with fantastic theories. In a bucket of blood.
Yes, y'all, it's going down right now. Episode 263 of the Triple Shots of Moods and Horror podcast is coming at you live and direct with my hetero life mate, JP, also known as the Mexicant. And we got Mr. No Fact Checks himself, Tyler. And I be your host, the MOOD to the Z, Moodz. Yeah. What's going on, my players?
Well, just when you thought you got rid of us for the whole summer, we come back.
We don't even miss a week.
Dude, that's
so we're
crazy.
like, so that's what we're doing. We're like, okay, that's the end of the season with the top 10 of 1936.
Dude, I've done that like 7 times. I keep saying 1963 too.
Why is that? It's like so easy to say 36, but I keep doing the same thing. But and then the following week, I just happened to be around, so we're like, screw it. Let's record a show.
Damn show.
And I mean, this one kind of made sense for multiple reasons because Roger Corman, rest in peace, obviously just passed away. We got 1959 on our new retro year, top 10 year. And Roger Corman, of course, directed 2 films from 1959. We're like, well, you know what? Let's give him his flowers and kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Let's do a show and do a couple 59 films. So, of course, we're going to give it up to Roger Corman tonight, who had one of the most legendary careers as a director, as a producer, you know, just as a beautiful human being. I mean, you never hear anybody say anything bad about Roger Corman. Like you watch a documentary and
except for one guy.
Yeah, except for one dude. Like, I always wondered if people were just afraid to say bad things about Roger Corman. But like you hear, you know, Jack Nicholson talk, Martin Scorsese, to like everybody that he worked with over these years talk nothing but or say nothing but good things about him. And they always say like Roger Corman was one of those interesting characters that like, you know, never really went out of his way to be like straight up friends with you. He had a business mentality, but he wasn't a dick about it. He was on sets and he just kind of pushed it, you know, lightly forward and kind of did his thing. But he wasn't that guy, like after they would shoot, go out and have drinks and party and get involved with people. He was just kind of distant. He kind of did his own thing, but he's got an interesting background, you know, like Roger Corman, you know, in the documentary even says like, you know, I spent a couple years in the Navy. He's like, it was the worst 2 years of my life. You know, it's like they're making all these rules and all I could think about was how I was going to fucking break them. And like to most people out there, like, when you look at Roger Corman, you don't look at him as like a big rule breaker, but when you look at what he did with his career, he's a super, super nice guy that was well-spoken, very intelligent, that made, you know, sleazy kind of like low budget horror and exploitation films.
But he made everything. Like if for the people out there listening, just at the beginning of this season of The Last Drive-In, the opener, the special that they did was live from the Jamboree, which was like a live event that they did, and they filmed an episode there in Vegas at a drive-in, and they did a Roger Corman double feature. So they did Bucket of Blood, which we're actually covering, and they did non-directed but produced Deathstalker. And they've done a lot. They've showed a lot of love to Roger Corman over the years, from the first season all the way up until now, they've had Roger Corman on multiple times. And they one of the things that Joe Bob like was talking about during the interview with Roger Corman on this particular episode, which was, you know, just a couple months ago. They filmed it a little bit earlier, but obviously it aired a couple months ago. When he was interviewing Roger Corman, he was like, dude, you've literally done every genre possible. Like there's no genre that you haven't like covered.
Right.
And he literally was like listing off like all these movies that I've never seen or whatever, but about like, you know, just the craziest genres, like stuff that you wouldn't expect, you know? And
it is so true though.
Joe Bob said something funny. He's like, you know, you have a credit of like 700 production credits, and you know, some people say 500, some people have tallied 700, but he's like, there's only 2 people on the planet that have seen all 700 of your movies, and he's like, you and me. Which is just hilarious, because I do believe Joe Bob's like probably seen everything Roger Corman's done. He started interviewing him like 40 years ago or something. And it was just like Roger Corman for 90 years old during the time of that episode, like, or what was it? Wait, no. How old was he? 98? Yeah. So he's like 98 years old, bro. He was
still well spoken.
Talking. Yeah. He was, I was like, dude, this is crazy. But it was just so cool. See, you know, because I did go back and watch that for this show, the Joe Bob version, even though I just watched it a couple months ago. But it was just cool, you know, and you really got to appreciate what Roger Corman did for the genre, for independent film, for, you know, going all the way back to, you know, 1959 with A Bucket of Blood and like the influence of sort of the low budget film. And then another thing that he really did was he did a lot of sci-fi, like a lot of sci-fi horror, and he did it on a budget. And it wasn't until, you know, later that like after Star Wars and a couple other movies that like you can't even make like a sci-fi movie anymore unless you have millions of dollars, you know what I mean? Like nobody makes sci-fi on a budget anymore, and it's unfortunate because Roger Corman kind of perfected it.
It's because people stop kind of enjoying or even, you know, kind of accepting the low budget sci-fi films. They wanted the higher budgets and stuff. I mean, I honestly believe that like Star Wars really killed that, you know? If you're making
I never thought about
films
it like that.
You know, like
I love
they
like
were big production. Yeah, like those bigger production people just kind of got accustomed to it and stuff, and they kind of lost the respect for, you know, the day the world ended, and you know it conquered the world, and Attack of the Crab Monsters, Not of this Earth, and you know stuff like that. Like these are the type of movies that I grew up watching. War of the Satellites, like these were sci-fi films that I felt like, you know, even Roger Corman is the first person to say like they probably could have been better, but he's referring to the fact that like if, you know, you had a bigger budget, they could have done a little bit more and stuff, but they turned out, you know, as well as they could have with the budget they had. And that was one thing that Roger Corman was always so good at doing, taking these no budgets and turning them into films that were super, super respectable on screen. You know what I mean? Like they were definitely watchable. They were of the times. And I think he did what he could so well. And the thing I like about Roger Corman, you know, versus someone like Herschel Gordon Lewis, is that Roger Corman made these movies with the intent of, you know, you could really tell that there was a lot of love put into these. Like he wasn't forcing the issue. He wasn't making them strictly from, I mean, obviously everyone, you shouldn't say that about everybody. I mean, you still want to make a buck at the end of the day, but he was really good at even promoting these things and not losing money on the films too. But like, you know, you take Roger Corman's mentality with filmmaking, and he really showed a lot of love for the genre. And you see that in his films first, you know, if you know anything about Herschel Gordon Lewis, and it's not a knock on Herschel Gordon Lewis. He just had a different mentality when it came to filmmaking. He was solely about making money and making those exploitation and shock type films for the sole point of making money. Like he didn't really care. He didn't even like horror films. Like he's openly admitted that he didn't like horror films. He didn't like really what he was doing, but you know, they were a gateway to making some serious money, you know? So, and that's why a lot of Herschel Gordon Lewis films don't really feel like there's a lot of love put into them versus someone like Roger Corman who's making movies around the same time, and you look at his films and you can just see the love in them. You can see that there was a point of doing things, you know, even though with a low budget, but, you know, putting the love into the effects and stuff like that and doing what you could with it and stuff. I don't know. I just always had this interesting, you know, contrast between the two filmmakers at the same time, but they just had different visions, totally different visions, you know. But, you know, Corman, you're right, though, like the different genres of films, like, I mean, he made his horror films, he made his sci-fi films, he made, you know, one when he did, Wild Angels, when he actually worked with the real Hells Angels on the biker film and stuff. And, you know, that was kind of like, he started this, well, I shouldn't solely started, but he was part of that whole biker movement and stuff, which leads into, you know, all the biker films, the late 60s and stuff like that. And he was kind of a part of that, but like, you know, dipping into that, doing, you know, women jail films and producing it, like he did it all, man. Like there's no genre he really didn't cover. Like what was the one he did with Peter Fonda and Dern? I think it's a like really trippy kind of drugged out.
Oh, The Trip, I think.
Yeah, The Trip. Yeah, The Trip. Yeah, that one right there. Like he did shit like that, you know, and then Hell's Angel movies and he did it all, man. Big Mama and shit. Like the women in prison films, I was always a big fan of, but like, you know, he wasn't directing a lot of those. Those were produced movies. I think IMDb says 491 production credits. Like, I mean, that is just unfucking believable.
There's rumors that there's more. Like Joe Bob said that
there probably is
up to 700 movies with him.
When you have that many and you just like are probably moving from movie to movie so fast, like it's bound that like something, you know, word over time.
Well, they joke about that.
And he was such a master of, you know, like utilizing what he had, you know, like sometimes he would make an entire another movie if he had a set for a week without, you know, he had a set that was going to be up for a week with that not in use. It's like, well, we might as well make another movie with this set, you know?
Right.
Like, and all the people who started their careers and worked with him early on, like Jack Nicholson and Francis Ford Coppola and even like Robert De Niro, Charles Bronson, Stallone. I mean, James Cameron, Joe Dante, Scorsese, like tons of people.
It never ends. It never ends.
Jack Nicholson.
The one era of Corman that I love, man, is the Vincent Price, Corman, Poe era.
Oh, you know, I love those movies. Those are
all
so
the
good.
Poe adaptations that they did. Like he was like on a serious ass role. Like, you know, I mean,
those are so much better than you would think they would be.
Yeah, like, you know, The House of Usher was great. Then he went on to do like The Little Shop of Horrors. He's done some classic stuff, dude. But The Pit and the Pendulum is really good. The Premature Burial.
I forgot which one it was, but there's one that like I remember watching probably like over 10 years ago. I'm thinking like this probably scared the shit out of people.
The Mask of Red Death. Did he do that one?
Yeah,
did that one.
Yeah, Mask of Red Death.
With those Poe movies, like, there was, I forgot which one it was. It was one of those, like, in the 50s. And I remember thinking, like, so this probably scared the shit out of people. Like,
yeah, like The Haunted Palace. Like, and one of his more infamous films, which was, you know, kind of straight sci-fi stuff, which was X, the Man with the X-Ray Eyes, which is actually one of my favorite Corman directed films. I think that one's fantastic. And he actually considers that one to be one of his better films. And I think it was actually one of the better received films. You know, it did really well at the box office and stuff like that, too. And,
yeah,
you know, it's funny.
I meant to pick this up last archive sale, but I dropped the ball on.
Oh, it's really good. I've had the movie for years. It's a really good one, actually. Surprisingly, really good. And it was made like right in the middle of like all those, you know, Vincent Price Poe adaptations and stuff. And they went to do the Tomb of Lygia and stuff like that. And then it's crazy. Like he did the Tomb of Lygia in 64 and then 66, which I can't believe he didn't do a film in 65, which is great. But then he did the Wild Angels, right? Which is that. The biker film and stuff like that. He's just switching genres here like crazy. But of course, 1963 did the movie with Jack Nicholson, The Terror. And Jack Nicholson's funny in the documentary too. He talks about like how Corman was the only person that would hire me. And he's like, you know, we never really did anything that good. And he's like, that's why I wasn't getting hired for any movies. But he goes, now these movies have so much respect. And like, he just gets it though. He's like, he understands, like at the time, you know, it was more about moving forward and stuff. You weren't really accepting what you were doing at this time because they just weren't doing overly that well. But, you know, it's kind of interesting how pretty much all these movies that they were doing together at the time are all called classics and stuff. But I do like
that. Also, you know, he even went on later in his career and capitalized on the like CG sci-fi era films. You know,
right.
like the mega sharks and stuff like that.
But he's like magnetic to like low budget filmmaking though, right? Like, you know, you think in sci-fi films, they're generally low budget and stuff. And like he comes from that era. I think it was just a perfect transitional period for him to do those. Right. And like, I think it was just inevitable that he was going to get into doing the sci-fi type film. And a lot of the Corman later, you know, post 2000 films that he produced and stuff were actually really fun. There's some really fun ones. I won't lie. There's some ones that I really like, but I like in the documentary that they talk about the movie The Intruder. Have you guys ever seen the movie Intruder?
Yeah, they talk about that in the Joe Bob show too.
I assume you're not talking about like Sam Raimi Intruder, right?
No, we're not talking about the slasher film from the 80s. No, we're talking about Roger Corman's adaptation of it was originally a novel. It's actually starring William Shatner, and it sounds like it should be a horror film. It sounds like it should be a horror film, and this is a really young William Shatner. This is 1962. Like this is obviously pre Star Trek fame. Like Shatner was not a big star at this time, but this is a very it's a very gutsy film to make because in the early 60s, you know, 50s and 60s and stuff, what was really a big theme in America was the race tension, right? And this one is essentially kind of not exploiting that, but kind of showing what exactly was going on. And William Shatner plays a character that comes into town and he's basically a white supremacist, right? And he's kind of stopping, the segregation and he's trying to keep that going and stuff. And yeah, he's like opposed to school integration and stuff like that. And it gets really heavy on, just the white aspect of the racism and stuff. And there's a lot of N-bombs in this film. It's just brutal to watch, man. I recently picked up the DVD a couple months back. Actually, it will be in my next update whenever I do it. And I watched it because I've been wanting to see this movie for years. And it's a really great performance from William Shatner. But the narrative it's heavy. It's really heavy. It's daring to make this movie at this time because, like I said, it was very, very shocking. And a lot of people say it's like one of Roger Corman's best made films. It's got heavy commentary. It's got great performances. It's got a lot of good themes and stuff, and it's doing a lot of good work. And of course it had, the infamous William Shatner in it too, but he does a really good performance. But I highly recommend seeing it, man. Just going back to Roger Corman, doing a bunch of different type of films. I mean, this is smack dead in the middle of him doing a bunch of genre films, and then he just goes and does this, and it's a very daring film. I highly recommend it. It's good. It even has a really high rating on IMDb, which I don't give a fuck about ratings on IMDb, but it's shockingly at a 7.6 on IMDb when usually even good films have shit ratings. So you know what I mean?
So yeah. The funny thing about that particular movie is Roger Corman said that was the only movie that ever lost money that he made. Mm-hmm. But
they said that was the irony of his whole career. Because it was probably his best movie and it was the only movie that lost money. But that goes to prove when you make a really good, heavy movie, it's just not for everybody.
Sometimes it just doesn't work out. But he said that when he did a commentary with William Shatner for some disc release somewhere, it actually brought the film into the green. So now every movie he's ever made has made money.
I wonder if it's a DVD release that I have actually, because I think there is a commentary on there. I didn't check to see if it was Shatner on it or not, but I don't know. I'll have to check it out. But
yeah, so he said that finally pushed that film into the green.
Yeah, that's cool.
How crazy is that, bro? All those years later.
But I mean,
every movie made money.
But I think if Intruder was made after Shatner fame, that movie would have blown the fuck up. It would have been huge. It was just made before with an actor that blew the fuck up after, right?
Yeah.
But it's interesting that it never caught on after because, like a lot of people, as film lovers, if you like an actor and, they're famous or whatever it is, and then you go back and check out their back catalogs, you discover shit like this. So but maybe the people that are like into William Shatner and Star Trek aren't checking out The Intruder because for one, maybe they're not a horror fan and they think it may be a horror film. Or the context of the content of this movie might just be a little bit heavy because it honestly is really tough to watch. And you're like nowadays you're watching and the dialogue is so brutal. Like it's just, they say the N word. Like it's just like you're saying the word it's so natural, but it comes off so effective because it really encapsulates that time period of how racist people really were. Nobody gave a fuck. Nobody wanted black people around here. They just fuck that, put them off to the corner. It's brutal. Very effective.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fucking Roger Corman, man. Roger Corman. But it's kind of interesting. Like he, how many directing credits does he have? He has 56.
Yeah, I think it's on, according to Letterboxd, he had 53 directing credits and 229, I think it's a producing.
Yeah, he did most of his stuff in the 50s and 60s, and then he did, essentially in the 70s, did a couple films. Battle Beyond the Stars, which was, basically a Star Wars ripoff, 1980, and then he returned in 1990 for Frankenstein Unbound, which I actually liked that movie. Frankenstein Unbound is a little bit underrated. It's not a bad film, so kind of an interesting one, but yeah, Corman, man. What a career.
Yeah, no, definitely. And that's why we're doing Corman. In fact, one of the shows we talked about doing this summer is like the Piranha show, which all have Corman tied to him in some way, I think, right? Like, didn't he even produce the remake? Or had like an executive producer credit or something? On
the remakes, I'm not 100% sure, but probably. He probably gets credit on those, but it's so hard to keep track of his production credits in the 2000s because it's like there's so many fucking movies. Like he did Dino Shark, which I thought was pretty fun. Sharktopus, he did that one. Like he even has the executive production credits on like the Death Race movies because of course he was involved with like Death Race 2000 and stuff like that. But like the remakes like Death Race and Death Race 2 and shit, it's pretty crazy. Oh man, there's like he did so like Sharktopus versus Paracuda. What the fuck? Dude, I'm looking through these movies that he produced and I'm like, oh my god, dude, it's like so fucking many. He produced Slaughter Studios. Wow. I think I reviewed that on the show before. Dino Croc. That one's a fun one. Oh man, just looking through this is just crazy. Fucking bad shit.
Actually, I don't think that he had anything to do with the remakes.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not actually seeing anything in there, so that's kind of what I was looking for, but executive producing on the Carnosaur films. Damn, dude, like I haven't really scrolled through this too much, but he actually executive produced the remake of Bucket of Blood in '95, the TV movie. Have you guys actually ever seen the remake?
No, I didn't even know that existed.
Oh, you got to be fucking kidding me. Oh, this is so crazy. So they must have signed a thing because in 1995 there's a remake of The Wasp Woman, Not of This Earth, and A Bucket of Blood all in the same year. And those are three of his movies. That's crazy. I did not know that those. I knew the Bucket of Blood remake existed, and of course, Not of This Earth. But the Wasp Woman. Interesting. Yeah, what a fucking career, man. Rest in peace to Roger Corman. Almost made 100. Almost made 100. It's such a shame that he didn't make it, man. Like I feel like it's that whole Betty White thing, man. She made it to 99 and just got fucking cheated, man. Like you got to hit that century mark, man. But yeah, he just always seemed like he was like kind of immortal because, like you said, he was 98, doing interviews and sounding good. And that, going back to the documentary, they talk about Roger Corman and like his early years and stuff. And he didn't really seem like the type of guy that would be making these films. Everyone kind of thought as him as somebody that should be teaching in like a college as a professor, maybe an English or a history teacher or something. He just had that kind of cadence about him. Like he was overly nice and he just wasn't the type of guy that should be doing these horror and exploitive, and like kind of sci-fi films and stuff. But I get that vibe from him though, man. Like he just seemed like he wasn't really that type of dude, but who really is? I mean, when you really break it down, who is? Yeah. Who is that type of person? But I mean, I could see it though. He was just something about him, man. Could listen to him talk all day because he's kind of got that voice. But yeah.
To sort of go off topic a little bit, but still sort of on topic a little bit. It's still kind of on topic, but did you see that Steven Kostansky from The Void fame and Psycho Gorman and Astron 6, is actually making a Deathstalker remake?
I did not know that, but that sounds pretty fucking awesome.
Yeah, I didn't even know. I just finished watching Deathstalker right before we started the show. And I was on Bloody Disgusting, just like looking over some news, see if there's anything to talk about. And I saw that, he's remaking Deathstalker.
That's an interesting title to remake.
Yeah, there's actually first images out of.
That's such a badass title.
I wish that he would make another fucking Leprechaun movie, man.
Yeah, I know. They're making another one, but I think it's like a redo or something.
Yeah, he doesn't have anything to do with it. But yeah, speaking of bloody disgusting, man, of course, I think probably the biggest news that came out on the website this week was Blumhouse
Mm-hmm.
is reportedly going to be putting out another My Bloody Valentine movie. Now, my question is this like going to be one of those, what do they call those sequels?
Legacy sequel?
Legacy. I always forget the term legacy sequel, or are they putting out just their own version of it? Or because there's not really a lot of information, but I'm wondering, because you theoretically could put out a legacy sequel to the original film, the way it ends. I mean, you could do that with the remake too, but I don't think they would add on to the remake. But if you're going to touch My Bloody Valentine, you probably would go back to the original and do a legacy sequel, or just develop your own film. But I mean, honestly, dude, Blumhouse with I shouldn't say My Bloody Valentine is actually kind of, to me, is probably one of the biggest missed opportunities in horror history to develop a franchise that never was. You know what I mean? Like, it had a great killer, had a great premise, and it just never developed into a franchise, which it probably should have, in theory. So I wouldn't say it's,
because I think even the remake did well.
No, the remake did really well. The original film,
I remember seeing that when I was like,
did fine for what it does. The remake did really well, and that's actually I think that might even be mentioned in the article too, about how the remake did so well and then just didn't spawn anything. I have no idea why. I mean, considering all these studios at the time were sequel heavy, they love to dip into franchises and stuff. And then, I mean, that sequel came out in what, 2000, or the remake came out in what year? 2007,
I think.
7. So it's been,
no, it might have been 9.
So it's like 15 years even since the remake came out, and they're just conjuring up this fucking, maybe legacy sequel, but I doubt it is. I bet you it's their own thing.
I think it's going to be like a remake.
To be honest, Blumhouse with, tapping into franchises, they don't really do the greatest job, in my opinion. I'm not a big fan of the new Halloween trilogy, as everybody knows. The Exorcist legacy sequel that they did, I thought was trash bags. I mean, Blumhouse has done good franchises themselves, like Paranormal Activity films that they've developed themselves have done really well. But what I mean, when they dip into classic,
is Insidious Blumhouse?
Yeah. Insidious and Blumhouse.
Insidious.
So I was getting at that too. So Paranormal Activity, Insidious, for the ones that they've developed themselves, they've done really well with. But when they dip into like classic franchises, I feel like they falter big time. I mean, whatever. Give me the fucking hate. I think the Halloween films, the new trilogy, is just not for me.
I don't think that's even a controversial take.
Well, I think also really what it comes down to, if you kind of put the pieces together, what are the common aspects of those two franchises? And it's David Gordon Green and whoever the hell else that dude was, right? Exorcist and Halloween.
Absolutely.
So
Danny McBride.
So I'm not sure if you heard or not, but they had exited because the Exorcist was supposed to be a trilogy, and they exited after the first one. I guess it didn't do well, and they probably had some beef.
It didn't do stuff. It did. I think it did decent at the box office, but I think the overall conception of it was, after the fact was like, it was not very good at all. I mean, a lot of people went and saw it. Doesn't mean it just because it made some money doesn't mean it was worthy of continuing on this trilogy and stuff. I thought it was terrible. Like,
I thought they were going to straight up cancel the trilogy after the first one came out.
They had like universal like disapproval.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it's as bad as a lot of people do, but I don't think it's like great either or even good. But I liked certain things about it. But one thing, I don't know if you guys are aware, but they actually, after David Gordon Green and Danny McBride exited, Mike Flanagan came in. So that's that could change the game, bro.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it though, like with Flanagan, but is it really gonna change?
Flanagan has literally done no wrong. I mean, didn't he even come in and make a good Ouija movie after the first one?
It was better than the first one for sure. It was definitely a step up.
The Origin of Evil movie. I think that's what it was. Yeah. The Origin of Evil movie was way better than the first one.
If they let Flanagan hit up the script and sort of like change the direction of where they were going and do his own thing, I think it could be fine.
He hasn't really, man. He's been on a fucking TV tear though, right? Because he was involved with House.
Well, he signed that big deal with Netflix, so it was
right. So these are all
of him doing that.
The Haunting of Bly Manor, and so like, of course, I think the last film he did actually, he's responsible for the Hill House, right? The Haunting of Hill House.
Yeah.
Yep.
So let me ask you guys: so that Netflix miniseries, is that based off the original book, The Haunting of Hill House, that was written in your? Okay, because I know the book. I've never read it. I've never read it before. I've always wanted to read it though, because I've known about that shit for years, but I wasn't sure if it was just by chance at the same time. I don't know.
Like, I haven't seen any of those projects, but they've been like universally loved pretty much. The Haunting of Hill House, Haunting of Bly Manor.
Okay, so here I got to.
I haven't seen any, but I often hear called like his best work. It's just
I just wanted to go back and check out his films here. Like I know that he did Absentia and Oculus. Oh yeah, Hush was the other one I was trying to think of. So Absentia, Oculus, Hush, Before I Wake, which I didn't really care for.
Gerald's Game.
And he did Ouija. Origin of Evil, and then Gerald's Game. And he went into he did Dr. Sleep, was actually the last movie. He's done a lot of TV, man, the last like 6-7 years. It's crazy. But Dr. Sleep was his last film in 19. And then, of course, Gerald Game was done for Netflix too. So he's been involved with Netflix for a long time. But Absentia, Oculus, and Hush, I thought that was a really good 3-film run. Before I Wake, what did you guys think of that one? I personally don't remember it a whole lot. I just didn't.
I don't think I really cared for it. I'm honestly like,
it was a miss for me.
I'm like not that huge on Mike Flanagan, but I think he's definitely one of the best horror directors and one of the more consistent directors over the past like decade or so. And like the improvement of getting like Flanagan, especially with like the experience he's now gotten, like making these like this long form like storytelling projects, like that's a huge upgrade. I think, coming in from I mean, Green. Especially too, like it is like you said too, like it is cool that like he has came in before and picked up a sequel and done a good job with it.
Yeah, right. I wanted to bring up his filmography because I wanted to see. He's only done 7 features. I'm not including TV and all that type of stuff, but like, he's done 7 features and 6 of them I really like. So, I mean that's pretty good ratio. 6 out of 7 films for modern horror, especially for
not only that, but 4 of his movies have made my top 10 lists.
I think Hush made one of mine. I'm pretty sure it did. Maybe Oculus might have, but I always champed. Remember how much I loved Absentia when it came out, even back in the day? I was like, man, that movie's fucking great, man.
Did that make your 2011 list?
No, because after all these years, I think it was like 11 or 12 on my list, but like
it was close.
11 got really heavy for me because of all the years passed and all the films that we had access to and stuff. And like, see, like honestly, it was high up in there, but like I couldn't like 11 is a solid year.
Yeah,
it's got some good
it was
films.
Tough competition. Yeah, it didn't make mine either. But
that was one of the contention movies.
Yeah. Well, going into the year when we first said it, I thought for sure Absentia was going to make it. But that's the beauty of doing an overhaul on a year like that, man. You end up watching so many movies. You're like, holy shit, dude! You're discovering shit. You're like, oh, I never got to see this back in the day, and then this is what happens. Absentia all of a sudden is at number 13. Like,
I think if you're gonna.
It was 17 for me, but there's 2 movies ahead of it that I didn't count as horror, so it was 15. So yeah, it's pretty close.
Right.
If you're gonna pick somebody to sort of come in and fix something, I think Flanagan's a good pick. He's really good at long form, which if there's 2 more movies would kind of be long form. He technically he's a good director, right? Like even all of his films technically look great.
Yeah, for sure.
I think I think that's a good choice. Like I'm not saying that I have high hopes for it, but if anybody's gonna do it, I'm glad they got Flanagan. That seems like a good choice. And in terms of My Bloody Valentine, we'll see, but I think it depending on who you tap in to direct and write, that will greatly affect it, because I do think Blumhouse was Black Phone Blumhouse too?
Yeah.
Was Black
that was pretty well done.
Which one?
Black Phone.
Oh, Black Phone was Blumhouse, yeah. But Black Christmas also was too, and that movie was an abomination.
Right, exactly. But again, if you look at who the writer and director was and like the types of movies that they were looking to make, that's why you got that. So it all depends on who's going to be making this shit.
Yeah, there's really no information. Like, I mean, we can just speculate.
There's literally nothing.
I mean, they could be doing
that they're making it.
I wonder if the general idea was to make a legacy sequel to this film, but then after The Exorcist bombed so bad that they're just like, fuck it, let's just develop another film.
Just do something new.
I don't know if it's popular enough to do a legacy sequel.
Yeah.
You don't think My Bloody Valentine has such a cult status that like?
Yes, I do. Cult status.
It has a cult status, but I think most people that would be fans of My Bloody Valentine.
I guess I worded that right into my own fucking demise.
Yeah, I think like honestly, like I think the youngest fans of this movie are like me and JP's age.
Yeah,
dude. Yeah, I don't think. I mean, I do think it's gotten more popular over the years, like with just like accessibility and like nice releases and stuff like that, and like maybe a little younger generations are checking it out. But I can tell you right now, none of my like regular friends who aren't cinema fans even know what it is. I guarantee not a single one of them.
It's just when we were like 18 years old, like the remake came out, so there's probably that little period like where like teenagers and people in their early 20s like, oh, let's go touch the original one. And after that it was.
It is actually quite interesting, you guys, that you bring that up, because like I had made a post just not too long ago, whatever. I was showcasing maybe the 4K of My Bloody Valentine, and I'd gotten a picture with the actor that played the killer, right? And someone commented on my video saying like, oh yeah, I have this movie too, but it's in 3D. And I was like, yeah, that's the remake.
The remake.
I'm talking. This is the 1981 original film.
Yeah, I hated in the remake that
right
the guys
there
looked like they were fucking Abercrombie models when they were like supposed to be minors.
Yeah, I didn't like honestly, I think we've talked about this before. I mean, we did the OG verse remake on the podcast and stuff, but I think when this one first came out, I was not liking the remake at all. I just felt it was so much. It just felt so flashy. I just had so many issues with it when it first came out. But I think when we did the show, like I think I came around. I didn't hate it or nothing. So
it's not the worst thing. It's all right.
I think it gets better over the years.
Yeah, that was kind of like Valentine to me. Also, going back, speaking of like my these Valentine type movies, but Valentine was actually another film for me too. That when it first came out, I think that was 2001, whatever. 2000, whatever it is.
I think it's late 90s.
Yeah, it was like it was right in that realm of like Scream, and I know what you did last summer, Urban Legend, Valentine. Like all these movies were just dropping left and fucking right, and that one came out, and I was like, I fucking hated that movie, dude. I fucking hated it.
Yeah, you're right. 2001. That's like what like the big thing with that was, because I think I think you're right. People had reached like a burnout for that, and they were just like, oh, another one of these fucking movies. So it's like people are already coming into it like negative mindset.
I think one of the biggest problems for me though was the casting in that film, because like I always talk about casting in films. Like it's one of my biggest problems with I Know What You Did Last Summer. It's not even the narrative. The narrative's fine for what it is. Like it's it is what it is. Like the narrative's totally fine, but it's the beautiful people casting that I call. It's all these beautiful people that were from. I don't like those castings. I don't like all these famous people.
Denise Richards,
like from Valentine.
I like Ray. He's like dim-witted, like
Jennifer Huge tits, and like, and then you got Freddie Prinze Jr., who I always claim is the worst actor in the history of acting. I swear he's terrible. Like he's just awful in everything.
He's good in I Know What You Did Last Summer.
No, he's not. That's the thing. He's totally not. He's horrible in that film, man. Even Jennifer. I want to say Jennifer Huge tits. What is that from Scary Movie when they call her Jennifer Huge? I don't know.
Yeah, it's from some sort of comedy. They call it.
I always say that.
Huge tits.
It's such a fucking funny thing, man. It always cracks me up every time. But like, she's not even a great actress either. But like, it's just it's really accumulation of like the beautiful people at the time.
She was a pop culture figure over the time. Like,
and I'm not opposed to watching beautiful people on screen. It's just the fact that they were so popular. It was like just casting. They had the job because they were super popular at the time. What was the show? It was Dawson's Creek. It was
that whole era of doing that.
All those people from Dawson's Creek, which I'd never seen before, and all those TV shows, like they were so popularized. And I was like, I think it's because I wasn't into those type of shits. Me
neither, but I think that like, I don't know, like maybe it's different because that's like my era's like format, like where in the 80s, it was like in low budget horror movies, there was like no namers, but in like my time, they became profitable to put like popular people on the covers.
Scream did that because you could kill off somebody like Drew Barrymore in the opening scene, and people are like, holy fuck, Crazy.
Yeah, nobody expected that shit.
No, so that kind of set the ball rolling for hiring all the beautiful people and stuff. But you're right, though. In the 80s, it was no namers that became people, and I mean, by the later 90s, I just was like,
you think like era. Wes Craven, like when he wrote that, or like just like sat back
Kevin Williamson,
or when he wrote that, you think he thought back like watching Psycho one night, like.
That's exactly what he did.
JP, if you
he's literally was like, we wanted to do like a Psycho thing that like everything's referenced, everything's intentional in Scream. That's what's so cool about Scream. It really is a like refined script. Like everything is intentional. Like the fact that they kill off Drew Barrymore was a direct homage to killing off Janet Leigh, and also Billy Loomis.
Yeah.
Sam Loomis. Right. You know what I mean?
JP, if you hadn't corrected Tyler there on who wrote Scream, again, going back to the intro, man, no fact checking, man.
I like to think it was like
I just didn't want to say anything.
I like all right.
It was definitely a collaborative effort.
Yeah, this is something I never dove in on because when I see like I remember when I first like discovered that Wes Craven didn't write it. Like I always pictured Wes Craven had a whole bunch of ideas and he sat down with like a screenwriter and he fucking wrote out the movie.
Well, the weird thing is because fucking New Nightmare is so similar in theme.
That's why I was like, this clearly came from Wes Craven's mind. So I always just like think I always like assumed like he just
because Wes Craven wrote New Nightmare, right? Like
I always assumed it was like Wes Craven had like a notes for a storyboard and he just sat down with someone that like transcoded a script for him.
I feel like Craven was definitely hands on with that script. Williamson was hired on as the writer, but just because you're hired on as a script writer doesn't mean that you
solely wrote everything in the
and like the thing is, I think doing that's smart anyway. Because if you really think about, like at this point, like Wes Craven's like he's a veteran director, he's an experienced guy, but Wes Craven might not exactly be in tune with like teen culture in 1996, where you can get somebody that can write it for you, so you don't sound like an idiot. And like this, and actually have a movie, which is your idea.
And that's the thing. Like Kevin Williamson didn't write the script and then pitched it to fucking to New Line or whoever put out the film and being like, oh, well, that's a fucking good script. No, this is from the mind of Wes Craven for sure. They collaborated on the writing, but the writers more or less hired at this point to actually write the script based on the ideas that Wes Craven probably came up with, and he already did 2 years prior with New Nightmare. It's the same fucking movie.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy that it was only 2 years before?
Yeah, it is.
Well, that was
such a bigger gap because
I remember watching it in the theater and being like, I've seen this movie before. When you like mention it.
I wonder if like he like that was his rough draft. He wanted to do like a meta thing, and then he had like just like the Eureka moment where like the Psycho thing came up, or
yeah. I mean,
I don't know, some other thing in the movie.
I always give Scream credit for being super clever. I mean, Wes Craven. I think he was a little bit more clever than some of his movies, fully came out. The end products weren't as good as maybe the ideas and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
I look at Wes Craven that just was a guy that had a lot of ideas. That wasn't afraid to throw his ideas at the wall. Sometimes they hit, sometimes they didn't.
Yeah, but he also was a guy who was a journeyman in a way too, where he would sometimes just direct movies for a paycheck.
Well, you had to. In those days.
Hills Have Eyes Part 2, the same year as Nightmare on Elm Street. I mean, you can't tell me that.
Yeah, and Chiller came out the same year too, and that movie's terrible.
Like,
he even did work for Disney. Like,
yeah, I mean, it like Craven. To me, like Craven's heights are some of the most creative heights in all of cinema, horror cinema. Like, whereas like someone like John Carpenter, I think like technically. His is like the highest you can go, stuff like The Thing and stuff like that. But I think like in terms of like creativity with especially Nightmare on Elm Street, Scream, like The Hills Have Eyes, Last House on the Left, People Under the Stairs, Serpent in the Rainbow.
Dude, you are just such an asshole. You do this purposely to get me going, don't you? You do this every fucking time you start listing off Craven movies, and you purposely avoid Shocker because you know how much I love that movie. You do it purposely.
I have a Shocker poster hanging on my wall right over there.
I wish I was actually wearing my Shocker shirt right now. That'd been great.
I was always bummed because I have like the Scream Factory, posters that they put out, when they would do the collector's editions. I have People Under the Stairs, Serpent in the Rainbow, Shocker, and I don't have like Deadly Blessing, which was the first one they did.
Right.
And like it always bugged me because I have a wall of Craven posters, which, by the way, god damn, that artwork on Serpent in the Rainbow and People Under the Stairs is awesome.
Yeah, that's what's his face did those artworks. The early stuff was done by that dude.
There was the one guy that all his things have like a rainbow tint to it.
Yeah, I can't remember the fucking guy's name now. But anyways, like they changed artists and the shit wasn't as good.
Yeah, there was some really solid.
I really like the Day of the Dead.
That's what drew me into collecting. Like,
Day of the Dead's one of my all-time favorites.
That's a good artwork, man. Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, and speaking of fucking dude, where was I going? Oh, speaking of Nightmare on Elm Street, they finally are doing a 4K of Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah, we saw that a couple weeks ago.
Like, why can't we just get the franchise, dude? It's not like it's put up by different studios. It's not different studios. It's all new line.
Well, according to the
Cliff
McMillan from Scream Factory, there is some issues with the series or something.
But like what? But I mean,
I thought he said they just don't want to. They want to they see the value in doing it themselves. So that's why they don't want to license it.
Oh, is that why? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
because like some of the things that they
then do it yourselves, damn it! What are you waiting on?
Yeah.
My problem is with the way it's been treated is that we've had a VHS box set back in the day. We've had that stupid slimline fucking Blu-ray release.
Yeah, I don't like that release.
I thought you were about to say the slimline DVD release, which has the snapper cases, because that's like one of my favorite releases ever.
No. We have that DVD release is awesome. Actually, my part 3 is signed by Nancy. But anyways, we had a good conversation about the artwork on the Blu-ray set, and she's like, I said to her, I was like, it's terrible, and she's like, I totally agree. She's like, it's fucking awful. She's like, I actually met the guy that did the artwork for it, and he was so proud of it, and she was like, it's really not good. But anyways, like I said, like for Blu-ray releases, like that slimline, not a great release. But the point of the fact of the matter is that it has been released as a set before. So why can't we get like a deluxe version, kind of like what Scream Factory did with the Friday series and of course Halloween? I just don't understand why they would let them do the Friday set but not the Elm Street set. Well, this is the Halloween set was harder to put out because it was done by different studios.
Okay, well, this is the thing that he mentioned, and because they're different studios is kind of like one reason it works.
What different studios though?
I don't know what studios have the differences, but part of the thing that he talks about in that podcast he did on that guy's channel is on both those sets there were certain sequels that they couldn't license. They literally didn't license the rights. They wouldn't let them. So, and like, because there were separate companies that had rights to different titles, nobody like cared about like keeping them all together to do their own set. But even though they wouldn't let them license like the rights to do like a new restoration, they sold them discs of like Blu-rays they had already put out that they just put in the set. So like the Rob Zombie Halloween ones, that's why you only have like that same exact disc that has like the director's cut on it, right? Because they weren't allowed to license it, so they like literally just bought like mass discs and put
because
them in
the Canadian distributors I think had the rights to the theatricals, right?
Yeah,
that's
for whatever it was, they were like
up here.
Like you can.
No,
like,
I just think that I mean the rights are the same people down here for the theatrical and unrated. It's just that what he was saying was they didn't want to produce new discs.
Yeah, they wouldn't let them make new discs. That was
basically.
So then why was there no release of the theatrical?
Because we've never had theatrical releases down here. They would have.
But why in Canada? Disc. Why do we have them in Canada then?
Maybe
just
the rights
somebody out there, somebody up there put it out.
It's crazy.
But they never released Blu-ray copies of the theatrical cuts down.
I mean, it was that double feature disc, but at the same time, it's still fine.
Yeah.
They're 50
I don't.
gig discs.
I don't know
The
which one
transfers are
it
great.
is, but there's one on the Friday set too, where like it was the same deal where like they weren't allowed to like license it to do a new registration, so they just bought mass discs. But they wanted to like they had special features.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's
I mean, I
why
get
you'll
that.
see like on one of them the disc is just special features, and the other
Right.
one has the movies
Right.
they couldn't make a new
Yeah,
disc.
I mean, this has been an issue with a lot of releases over the years and stuff, and people it gets confusing with rights and stuff, and like what you're
Yeah.
allowed to do and what they will license out. Like there's certain companies where you're like, well, why the fuck didn't you put out the Blu-ray? Because they don't have the Blu-ray rights; they have the DVD rights, and then this other company has the Blu-ray rights.
Yeah,
It's
that was
literally
a
a
crazy
different thing. It's a different thing.
conversation
Yeah.
to listen to because I never would imagine like a company would just buy mass like discs from another company and just put them in their own cases.
Honestly, that probably happens a lot more than we think.
Yeah,
because
it probably happens a ton. I just
you ever
I
like
never
get a
thought
new
of it.
release
Way
and
cheaper
it's like
to
the
do,
same
cheaper
disc
business.
as like
Yeah.
a previous release, and you're like, this is just the same exact disc.
Exactly. Yeah, repackaged. Yeah.
Yeah, I noticed that with the Halloween set with like the 35th anniversary that had come out right around the same time. I remember
Right.
like opening one day like this is the same exact disc. What the fuck?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. But Nightmare on Elm Street, particularly, like the reason why that one shouldn't be a rights issue, other than the first film, because I believe that the original film, the rights were possibly reverting to the Craven estate because that whole like law with after
Yeah,
like,
we
40
talked about
years,
that.
the writer.
Yeah.
So that's what surprised me, where I was like, well, maybe that's what's holding it up because somebody, Craven's estate owns the first film and then the sequels are still owned by Warner Brothers or I guess Warner Brothers and New Line are like the same company now, right? Is
Yeah.
that how that works?
I
Yeah,
think
Warner
so.
Brothers bought New Line, but it doesn't.
Yeah, so the same company.
Is Warner Brothers its own thing? Like they're
Warner Bros. Just they owns New Line, so they own New Line, then so they own everything that New Line owned. Like so, if they
okay, because I know there's like four major players in the game right now. They bought up everything. Like
That's
Sony
why like
owns
Disney
half
owns
of-
Star. Yeah,
Like
and that's why
Sony owns
Disney owns
everything.
Star
Warner
Wars
Brothers,
because they bought Fox, who owned Star Wars.
right?
And
So,
Alien.
so Disney pretty much owns everything then.
Yeah, Disney owns so much shit, and it sucks because there's so much stuff that they own that it's probably that like would like make good like.
Yeah, it
additions.
sucks that they own all the Fox
They're
stuff
just
because there's
buried.
lots of good stuff and like. So where did the Orion rights go to? So
I don't know. There's another thing I heard too, and like I can't verify this is true, so I'll take with a grain of salt. Tyler, who doesn't fact check, but supposedly I heard because I've like, you ever wonder why we don't have like a good release of like John Woo's like The Killer or Hard Boiled or something?
yeah.
Supposedly, Quentin Tarantino was gonna like have his own boutique line, like produced by Harvey Weinstein. So they bought up the rights to all these titles, and then the
Oh, no.
Weinstein thing happened. So now you have all these fucking cool like Hong Kong titles, like
I mean-
supposedly tied up because of that.
We did get Blu-ray releases of those films on the Dragon Dynasty line, but
I don't think we got Hard Boiled though, right?
yeah, Hardboiled.
Dude, honestly, a
It's on there.
curated
The Killer
Tarantino
Hardboiled.
line needs to happen.
And like those movies are like movies like those are like perfect movies to put on like a Tarantino curated.
Yeah, but the problem is with that Dragon Dynasty line, a lot of those transfers were just kind of upkeeps. They didn't really do any restoration work on them. They just kind of upkeep them right to the fucking Blu-ray disc. So, I mean, it's better than having the DVD, but at the same time, it's still not the greatest transfers. But they are there. They are Region 1 releases. I do have them, but, it would be nice to get real nice boutique, upgrades for those films. Because, I mean,
there's a
they really deserve
criteria
it.
on DVD of those movies. Let's get those back.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Mm.
Good stuff. Yeah, where the fuck were we?
The long spiral of distribution rights.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
I mean,
I will be picking up the Nightmare on Elm Street 4K.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna pick
Oh,
that
of course. I'll be grabbing that too. It's just
Definitely picking that up. Gotta have that.
It's so weird. Like I go through stages of like fandom. Like lately, I've been really into Phantasm, and like
There's
Nightmare
not a
on Elm Street.
Phantasm 4K, right?
Is there a Phantasm?
I don't
4K?
think there is. The
I
last
feel
like
there
release.
is.
That's one I would have to pick up. The last release I have is like that Steel book that came out like in the
Yeah, I think it was only Blu-ray. It was a 4K like transfer. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
See
what it says.
But I mean, I love Phantasm, so
Just put out a 4K set. That'd be so
4K.
sick. Yeah.
But yeah, Phantasm and Elm Street has been like sort of like just what I've been feeling lately. Like I pretty much throw on Phantasm. I've thrown on Phantasm for like the last like 6 weeks, like when I'm going to sleep. Just start from the beginning. And then I don't know, I love that damn movie so much. And I actually want to get the new Don
All about that Phantasm life.
Yeah. I want to get that new Don Coscarelli book that is like stories from Phantasm.
Yeah, there's probably crazy amount of stories from that. How many? It took 2 years to make, right?
No, this is like a fiction book.
Oh,
I think that we should pick those up when we redo the Phantasm franchise, because we got to do a franchise. Well, we haven't done part 5, right? So we got to do that. So we're just going to redo
it. I want to do it in October because I think it's like perfect.
Yeah. But that would be kind of cool to read those stories and kind of talk about those too. Because
I'm definitely doing that because it's 5-6 stories and like they're all over the Phantasm universe. Like the first story is a prequel to when Reggie was in Vietnam, and then like the second story is like one of the morgue workers. And then there's the story with Rocky from part 3, and then the little kid from part 3.
What do you mean one of the morgue workers? Like who, like what character is this?
I don't know. I'm thinking that it might be like the first guy that gets bald in the first film.
That's who I immediately went to.
Yeah.
Interesting. That's really interesting to do that.
Yeah. But it's just cool that he wrote like 6 like lore stories, you know what I mean?
Right.
It's so neat.
I mean, to me, Phantasm is one of the most, it's just one of the most unique franchises out there. There's so much story within the story. Like, this is so cool to get these, because you think about when you watch it, like there's stories everywhere. Like I remember we were talking about it, like, I always wanted to know like how big everything was. Like, there's just so many aspects of like where they're traveling, and
right.
And there's so many things that are just unexplained.
Like you don't really know.
It's
like,
unexplained, right? So you're wondering like what exactly is out there. Like is it the end of the world? Is it not? But it feels like it, but it could not be. I don't know. Yeah. So.
They're just like so rich with like intrigue. But yeah, I've been watching Phantasm a lot. I throw it on like literally like a couple times a week at night to fall asleep to. And like I said, Elm Street, I've just been feeling Elm Street lately. So I've been going through my, sort of like, you know, favorite type, like I shift like what is like my go-tos, you know what I mean? Like my go-to is always like Return of the Living Dead and stuff like that. But lately it's been like Phantasm. It's my go-to.
Mm-hmm. I do the same thing. I have like a list of like movies that are on heavy rotation for late night and stuff. And I mean, I usually don't log them on my IMDb unless I finish the movie. It's kind of like my rule. But if I fall asleep, I won't really finish it. But
did you guys hit up the Vinegar Syndrome sale at all?
Yeah. Like 6 things.
Man, I just got like the new titles that were announced. And I think the only thing that I grabbed The Instructor, Lifeline, and The Ripper. And the only title that I grabbed was just an upgrade of Adjust Tracking, you know, the VHS collector documentary. I have DVD, but I was like, man, I don't really need, I have like everything. So I don't know, like the sale's ending, just in a couple hours and shit. I do have a couple things in my cart, but I don't know. We'll see if I
mean, I grabbed a bunch of stuff just because, like, I didn't used to do like the sub or like I did like the last couple years I've picked up pretty much most of the stuff they've released. But the stuff before that, like I did, like there was a few $10 titles like Pale Blood and 11th Commandment and Pandemonium. I picked those up because I didn't own them, and then I did go and get like 10 or 15 titles that I just never picked up from years ago.
Yeah.
But like most of like the early titles that they released that I never picked up are like out of print now, which sucks. Like I never got to get Welcome Home, Brother Charles, that double feature. I never got like Evils of the Night or whatever the hell that movie's called.
Yeah.
There's a handful of titles that I really missed out on back in the day that I wish I would have picked up.
Yeah. So if the title was out this sale and wasn't on sale, it'll be on sale the next one, right?
Yeah, if it's still in print.
Yeah, because I think my
usually
favorite,
I think the rule wasn't a sale.
The way that it works is anything from 2024 that was released is not eligible, and then even in November, the 2024 title still won't be eligible.
That sucks.
Oh, really?
Oh, that sucks. There's like I think my new favorite subtitles film movement, and there's a bunch of stuff like I want to pick up. I already picked up half of it at like full price, but
yeah, because I want to grab that Karate Contra Mafia movie, but it's still like 30 something bucks, and I'm like,
They dropped another title this month, The Fate of Lee Khan, which is like a big fucking title that like I'm happy it has a release now.
I might grab that Canadian film, The Mob.
And they have another one from Ang Lee when he was still just making like Hong Kong movies, pushing hands.
Yeah.
That's like sick. Like I love like Ang Lee, how he just like started off making like Chinese dramas and like action movies, and like came to America and like directed like Brokeback Mountain,
which I've actually never seen before.
I saw it for the first time last year, and it's actually like excellent. I liked it a lot. It's really like not that gay. There's a couple like scenes of them like making out, and that's it. But I remember like when it came out when I was like 13, like we just knew it was a gay cowboy movie. We just made jokes about it all the time.
Yeah, I just on a big
South Park made jokes about it.
It's like a big drama, right? It's like a big drama.
Yeah,
film.
it's like a big drama, and it's like really fucking good. And like they build.
I assume that it's about.
I'm not like the hugest drama
who
fan.
Can't be themselves because they live in an area where it's not accepted.
Yeah, it's like 60s, like whatever. And then there's
right,
really
the mean cowboys,
and they're both like married to women. Like there's literally like Anne Hathaway and Michelle Williams are both like literally topless in this movie. So it's like it's really like not
weird. Huh. Yeah, no, I'm not like the biggest like straight up drama fan. It's like one of the genres where I gotta be really into like what's going on.
I'm only
like,
into it if it's like really like dark drama. Usually.
Yeah,
I prefer the dark dramas. Like that's why I always talk about these like northern Chinese dramas. They're like always just like so like long and slow and dark and something just like fucking so bad.
Yeah.
Like
I think that goes without saying for us. With the dark drama type thing. I mean, we watch a lot of dark and exploited type shit and stuff like that. So it kind of makes sense. But like straight up like just drama, like happy, like I should say happy drama. Is that it? It's like an oxymoron right there.
It all depends. Like I've gotten to like a lot of like really like see a good amount from a lot of like foreign film makeovers the last few years, and like there's like different ways that like different people like take like kind of like take technique to dramas. I think American dramas are like can be like really dry. That's like part of like an issue for a lot of people.
Right.
But a lot of these like 60s, 70s like European movies are like a little bit more like boundary pushing than like what you would have saw like here at the time. And like the British people like don't give a fuck. Like I've seen like watching British like drama movies has like ruined like Harry Potter movies for me. Like seeing all these famous British actors do like awful things like that were in that movie.
Right.
Oh man, there's a movie like with the guy that plays Dumbledore that I've seen, and he's like he's just like a piece of shit and like beats his wife like all movie. It's like
it's interesting you bring that up because like I can't remember who I was talking to it was a couple years back, and we were talking about I think it was like Lord of the Rings, and this person was pretty unfamiliar with Christopher Lee's background, and I'm like talking about Christopher Lee, and I'm like, this guy's one of the most legendary actors of all time. Like, I mean, he's the Hammer Dracula dude. Like, he did all these Dracula. He did tons of Euros. Like, he's done so much stuff. But this dude only knew him from like those movies. And I'm like could you imagine only knowing Christopher Lee from these type? I'm like, what the fuck?
That's the average person's like film knowledge. But
he was like old. He was like in his late 30s.
Yeah, it's people
like a couple years back.
Dude, like I see, like I'm in like randomly in this like one general like horror group, but just like a general like Facebook group, and people will be like, recommend me some 90s and 80s movies. I'm trying them out.
Trying them out.
Yeah, like it's like you're adventuring watching a 90s movie because it's so old.
Yeah, these are the type of people that won't go
Like,
anywhere near a black and white film.
That's
or, like,
what I
fucking
mean.
Black and white
Like
reel.
people
Yeah.
like just like don't. They're just not.
You know, the
watching
black and
movies.
white thing, because Dave's even said that he doesn't love black and white, which to me, like,
I know. I always try to clown him on that too. I'm like, dude, that's so fucking weird.
I don't know if it helps because so when I was growing up at my grandparents' house, they just had a black and white TV in the room that I watched TV in.
Right.
So like I would watch shit that is not black and white in black and white.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I watched Joe Bob in black and white and shit. So
My first TV in my room was a little 13-inch black and white TV. So I was like watching playoff hockey in like 1989 Oilers and on black and white TV, man. It was crazy.
At one point, like even less, like probably even like less than a decade ago, like I might have even been like kind of like steering away from black and white. But it's like once you just watch enough black and white movies and you just see lots of good black and white movies and you can see what people like do with like having black and white film. Like you just like you know it's like, oh okay, this is like it's there's no difference. Like
I love it. I think that it adds like a good look to films. Like I even like modern
better in black and white.
What's the deal? What's the deal with people saying that like black and white movies don't look good on Blu-ray and 4K and stuff? And I'm like, what the fuck? I think there's so many black and white movies that look so good on
like what are they talking
on those
about?
formats? I'm like, I don't understand what they're watching. They must just be watching the worst transfers in the world because I have no idea. But
what black and white movies are people complaining about?
I don't know.
I have shit like the Maltese
You never hear
Falcon.
specifics.
Yeah, like I have shit like the Maltese Falcon that looks like incredible. I have my Double Indemnity, but like 4K is like astonishing. And those are like two like 40s movies.
I'm thinking like, you know, like
I got that one. I don't remember what it looks like.
People are obviously not watching Criterion 4Ks or black and white 4Ks.
But even like I have Casablanca and I have Maltese Falcon. Those are both just like Universal or whatever 4Ks.
Yeah, just straight up. Yeah, you know, it's kind of funny actually today. It was so weird because yesterday I was having some beers and I was like shopping around like I'm always doing because I'm a fucking nerd. And I'm on the internet and I'm like, what the fuck? Like I had this weird epiphany. I was like, okay, because I always go to the Arrow site every once in a while and they're having like a flash sale and they only have like a few titles on sale and stuff. And I'm like, oh, there's actually a couple titles I actually wanted to pick up and they were like £9. I know JP, shut up, £9, fuck whatever. So I'm like, well, I'll grab these. And it's kind of cool actually because I added a couple things to my cart and then they had a section on the side and it was like, you get a free thing. So I got a free fucking Blu-ray just for buying a couple. I was like, oh, cool. And it was actually one I was going to pick up anyways. I was like, oh shit, that's kind of cool. So but anyways, the point that I'm trying to make here is I'm a huge fan of Psycho, the franchise. And for some fucking weird ass reason, I just spaced on the limited edition 4K Arrow box set that had the first one in it and the sequels. So once that sold out, they put out another box set, which is just part 2, 3, and 4. And I was like, you know what, man, it's on sale on the website. You know, I already have all the movies anyways, but they're 4K.
Yeah.
They're 4K. And I'm like, do I need the 4Ks? No, but I'm going to grab them because they were like, I can't even remember. It was like 25, 30 pounds, whatever for the 4Ks. So, and I knew that there was a region 1 standard release of Psycho on 4K. And I have multiple dishes of Psycho. Everyone does. And I'm like, you know what? So I go, there's like $13 for the fucking 4K of Psycho. I grabbed that 4K. And the box set, and it was like fucking cheap. It was cheap as hell to grab these all on 4K. And I'm like, so I got it today, and I'm like, you know what? I'm totally fine with this. I'm totally fine with having the Psycho 4K because it probably looks really good anyway. So whatever. Yeah. So
I got the steel books for Psycho and Vertigo in 4K, and they're both just like
I think I have. I think my steel book of Psycho might just be the Blu-ray.
The pink one with like the drain on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the blue we were on. The 4K one, that's the one it's like the Psycho poster with like the black backdrop.
Yeah, so the 4K is like the old. Yeah, it's like
that's how the Vertigo one is too. Those are my two favorite Hitchcock movies though.
So I think
I have those.
As far as it looks like,
do you not have these sets?
I have I
Psycho
don't,
collection.
I don't have the
I don't-
4Ks. I have
no,
I have I have Hitchcock Blu-ray sets. I have the
have
one with
this
like 10
one.
or 12. Yeah, I've got that one right there.
I have this one. These are all
have that
Blu-ray
one too.
The only ones
There-
the only ones
There's-
were Psycho and Vertigo.
There are 3 volumes of this now.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
some of those, I definitely don't care to have on 4K, and the other volumes, like Marnie, Family Plot, don't you know?
No, I only grabbed the
4K.
Ultimate Edition because it has 10, 12 films in it. It's got
It has,
pretty much
12
all
films.
the smaller. It's got
You get his most essential ones, and then it has kind of a couple deep cuts in it. That's kind of the deal.
Yeah,
So,
and I'm cool with that. I just want,
exactly.
Dial In for Murder. I know Warner
I have
Archive
that
put
one.
those out. I know I need to grab those Blu-rays. I have an old DVD, and I love that movie, and I never upgraded. I don't know why. I just don't
have
know
a
why.
bunch of his movies. I have probably half his movies.
I've got tons of Hitchcock
He's
stuff
my
too.
most watched director of all time.
It's funny because we talked about this before, and I used to watch Hitchcock I'd watch a Hitchcock movie all the time. And the last few years since I've been on Letterboxd, I don't watch a lot of Hitchcock. It's funny because I have nothing logged. It's totally bizarre, but I've seen. I grew up watching Hitchcock, man.
I saw North by Northwest at the theater last Sunday, and that was
that's so cool.
That was clean.
I missed out. They were showing Cannibal Holocaust yesterday.
Oh, that sucks.
Really?
Yeah,
That's fucking cool, man.
Oh, that would be so sick,
dude. I would have went out of my way to see Cannibal Holocaust on a big screen. Oh my god, that would have been fucking amazing.
Dude, I hate how they play these Russian movies for literally one day. That's what happens around here.
See, I'm so jealous. You guys get everything. I get nothing where I live in this little shit town.
Dude,
we got 100,000 people here, and we got one fucking theater. One theater for 100,000 people.
Just this month on the in theaters, I've seen Alien, North by Northwest, Spirited Away, Nausicaa, Valley of the Wind, and Castle in the Sky.
Shit. Damn.
That's just this month.
You know, the most annoying thing about Hitchcock movies, though, is of course, he's directed so many films, but there's so many different, companies that own the rights to his films. So, collecting Hitchcock movies, you got to go everywhere for them.
You got a bunch from Universal. You got ones from Warner.
Yeah,
there's a handful on Criterion.
Fuck, everyone has them. Oh, it's just annoying.
Yeah, I don't even have all the Criterion ones, and I have a good handful. I have 39 Steps and Notorious. I
know I've been wanting to grab that 39 Steps forever. I love that.
I have Rebecca. Rebecca's a one that people really haven't seen. I think is one of his best movies.
But there was a standard release of that, right? Through Universal or whatever.
I have no idea. Maybe.
Yeah, I think there was.
I have the Criterion one.
Yeah.
I've seen the Lodger. I have no desire to I have the
Criterion of that. I have the Criterion of the Lodger.
Yeah. And there's The Man Who Knew Too Much, the original one, which I really don't want to pick up either.
I think I have the DVD and I have the remake, that he did himself. Also,
there's another good one that's on Criterion, I think.
Yeah.
But
the Criterion.
They don't even have crazy titles. The best ones they have for him. The best one they have for him, I think, is Rebecca. But then there's this the Spellbound one's hard to get. I just saw that for the first time the other day. But Strangers on a Train is kind of hard to get too, and that's one of his better ones, I guess.
Yeah, that's a great movie, man. Strangers on a Train and Dial In for Murder were those movies that I always those were two I always used to watch. Along with
I like Dial In for Murder a lot. I've never seen Strangers on a Train. That's my biggest blind spot.
Oh, that's a good movie. It's really good. The premise is awesome. It's so cool.
Yeah, that one. I own a bunch. I have a bunch of random ones. I have The Wrong Man. I have Lifeboat. I have a couple I haven't seen in that set, Topaz and Warren Curran. I've never gone that deep back yet. The only movie from his I hated was The Trouble About Harry. I thought the movie was trash.
It's a comedy, right? It's
it's stupid. It's just it's not even funny. It's just dumb.
It's the fucking British humor that it's so dry, but I like a lot of British dry humor sometimes, but that one I get what you're saying, man. Yeah, that's a miss. That's a miss for me too, man.
I don't like that one at all. I have my girl Shirley in it too, so I was looking forward to it. This is fucking stupid.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, Hitchcock, man. That's something that we never really talked about doing any Hitchcock on this show, which we probably should venture out and do some films. It's horror adjacent. They're thrillers. They have certain elements and stuff. I wouldn't say they're horror films for the most part. Really, what did he do?
Psycho is the only one I'd say is a horror film.
Psycho and the Birds.
Indefinitely. Oh, the Birds, yeah.
Yeah.
Indefinitely, those are the only two I say are horror films.
Right. Yeah, but he's worthy of talking about though because
The Lodger's kind of close.
yeah, I agree. Yeah. But yeah. Any other big news this week? Nothing? No, I don't think there is. Not like we're in the game of doing whole news segments, but I hadn't really.
Oh, did that In a Violent Place movie come out yet too? Isn't that coming out like this week?
I don't think it's out yet, but I think it should be soon. I think, yeah, I think it's soon.
Oh, In a Violent Nature.
Is that? I think it's getting theatrical.
Yeah, I thought I saw somebody rate it, so I was like that. Theaters. Yeah, I guess it is. Oh, coming May 31st. So next week or this week. Nice. Yeah, 2024 is starting to heat up. I haven't there's only 2 movies that I would say I've watched that I could see making a top 10 at least compared to last year. But I think there's been a lot of at least solid options.
Did you guys watch The Strangers? Chapter 1?
No, I'm gonna see that probably when I'm in Wisconsin next week.
Dude, I was fucking floored by the fact that so I bought my tickets and I started doing a little bit of research. I'm like, okay, so it's a prequel to the first film. Turns out it's totally not. It's the first chapter in a new trilogy of films. I'm like, what the fuck?
I really see, this thing is when I go see movies like that, I don't expect them to be good. If they're not boring, that's a win for me. So my expectations are so low that, so I'm really
I'm glad I knew that going into it though. And I read that of course the director, he did all 3 films. He did fucking Nightmare on Elm Street shit. He shot all 3 films in this trilogy in 52 days.
That sounds like the beacon of quality. So
it's kind of crazy because he was talking about certain characters filming shot or scenes from the first film and the second film, and I was like, oh fuck, it's kind of spoilery there, and I'm like, fuck, whatever. But I didn't really know who they were talking about because I didn't know the actresses or actors' names. So essentially, chapter 1 is a remake of the original Strangers film. It has a lot of call outs. It has a lot of similar scenes. It doesn't.
Is it in the same vein, or is it more of a slasher? Because I really
No, it's in the same vein for sure. Except for they don't. The whole movie's not in the house. It goes outside. They expand. They expand the
I don't think
the territory of the film.
I don't think the attempt of what the Strangers was trying to do as a story, the way it's shot and tries to tell its story was bad per se. But I don't know if it's a controversial take on, but I've never liked that movie. I've always thought the movie was kind of not good.
Oh, Stranger, yeah.
You're fucking high, dude.
That's interesting. That's interesting because you're the replacement for Jeremy, and Jeremy loves that movie. So
yeah, I've always been surprised that Jeremy's so high in this movie. I've watched the movie 3 times and just I don't the kind of the atmospherics slow burn he's going for. I don't think that's a bad thing to do, but I just don't think it's done well here at all. And I just every time I felt this movie is fucking boring. And you would think this is the movie I would be a fan of, right?
I think the original Strangers relies, of course, on just the situation.
It's a suspense movie, dude.
It's the suspense. It's
never done
really
it for
what's
me.
going to happen here, But
I prefer the second one.
This version, it's funny that you said that because Godzilla said the same thing. He said, I watched the original Strangers and the sequel and stuff. I'm like, which one do you like better? And he's like, actually, I think I like the second one more. And I was like,
yeah, it has a total cheat in it, but I thought it was fun.
Yeah, it's a totally different type of film. But so this basically remake chapter 1 of the first film, it's very similar. It has a lot of the same aesthetic to it. It's got the same mass and stuff. It's got the similar setting and stuff, but it kind of
the mass are very good. I can definitely say that. So that's the same aesthetic. That could be good. I just don't think it was done well the first time, or at least just never worked for me.
But this one just feels bigger because it's not 2 people in a cabin for 90 minutes. It goes outside of it. It gets a little bit bigger. It expands the story a little bit. Well, it expands the situation a little bit is what I should say. Of course, the ending is a little bit different because there's a trilogy.
Yeah.
So, but we'll see what they're going to do because now I'm really curious how he's going to expand the story and obviously I have an idea what's going to happen. But I'm curious. But I just thought it was very interesting that they shot 3 films at one time, released one. So you're assuming that this film is going to do well enough to go theatrical for the sequels, or if The Strangers Chapter 1 didn't do well, what do you do with the sequels that you already filmed? Do you just put them straight VOD?
Probably.
Well, apparently The Strangers is the highest grossing horror film of the year.
Well, I was gonna say too, like,
I guess
how
that
big,
the second chapter is coming out in October. Like, we're getting 2 in the same fucking year.
That's really cool. I kind of like that.
Yeah,
I love that. I think that's super. That's the Ty West effect.
Yeah, that's really cool.
But I think but this is exactly what I said, JP. I said
so
exactly the same thing. I said they're taking notes from Ty West because Ty West did these movies very similar, close together, bounced off the success of them. I'm like, and he just took it one step further and said, "Fuck this! I'm going to do 3 all at the same time."
I hear Ty West get a lot of disrespect, but I gotta commend Ty West. Like, Ty West is like, I don't think he's ever made anything like atrocious, and like, he's just like.
Well, he's associated with doing, the Cabin Fever 2
like,
film, but it wasn't his fault. That was bad.
Yeah, like, and like, I've known that forever. And like, okay, is like, do I think like that movie's like good? No, but I think it's like, it's a funny, like, just like riff and different than like the original Cabin Fever. Like, I like the original Cabin Fever, but I guarantee if you showed the original Cabin Fever to like, like an 18-year-old, they'd probably think it fucking sucks now.
No, they wouldn't.
I
think the movie's
so.
Timeless.
Yeah, I think it's.
They wouldn't be happy with some of the nomenclature used by some of the characters.
I think it holds a test of time, to be honest.
Yeah, but those are like nerds.
But like the sequel,
I think that's definitely an over estimation of people that actually watch movies.
We've seen of the sequel is completely not even. It's what did the article say one time? Like 30% of his idea. Or what he wanted.
Yeah,
I just remember
Adam
parts of
it's not even his movie. It's not even Ty West movie.
I just remember parts of the movie being fun too, like the whole like prom thing, just like reminding me of like Carrie.
I like Cabin Fever too.
Yeah, I remember like him busting down the door and that guy like Jediah or something, I forgot his name, was like, "This water is bullshit, man." It just gets lit up.
Right.
It was fun. Like, it's not great, but it's not like bad. It's like, it's fun.
Yeah, I mean, I've got pretty decent hopes for. I mean, I didn't. I
want to see the Western he made. That's the only movie of his.
Yeah, it's the one I haven't seen either. I mean, I like The Strangers Chapter 1. For what it is, it's very similar to the original one, but a little bit different. Obviously, there's changes, but there's a lot of call outs, and Renny Harlin did a good job, I think, with capturing more or less a lot of the atmosphere of the first film and stuff like that. There's some really good shots in it. There's some good cinematography. There's some really good outside shots in the forest and stuff like that.
Harlin directed this?
Yeah, who did Prism? He did
I didn't know that. That's
4.
so. Yeah, I know who Renny Harlin is. That's
I think he did Long Kiss Goodnight too. I think he did that movie.
I know he was still making movies. That's so sick.
Yeah, and he shot fucking 3 of them. It's crazy. So, yeah, so I mean, it's going to get interesting to see how this one develops in the trilogy. So I'm curious. I'm just curious enough. So he did a good job with it. So
I'm open-minded going to anything I see in the theater. Like, honestly, like, I heard, like, for example, like last year, I heard nothing about like I heard nothing but Insidious like 5 or whatever it was last year sucks. And that was like literally like whenever like 14 of the year. I had so much fun with that movie and got invested into it.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, it's so weird to me that Renny Harlin directed Elm Street 4. Always forget that.
Right.
I have that movie. He like
I think it's crazy. He directed
pretty good
Die Hard 2
and Cliffhanger.
Yeah. Oh, did he do? Oh, fuck.
Yeah, he just did action movies
and Deep Blue Sea.
Wow.
And Exorcist: The Beginning. And The Covenant, which I actually like.
That was like, I didn't know.
He did do The Exorcist: The Beginning, right? Damn, he's worked in a few different franchises. Crazy.
Yeah.
Wow. I haven't seen that movie. I've only ever seen that movie once, actually.
Yeah, like I didn't know this guy was still making movies.
Yeah, he's been semi-consistently making films.
Hey, he's doing this. He's got to eat. He's doing it. It's like, fuck it, I'll make these strangers.
Yeah, he did do a Long
Kiss
Kiss Goodnight. I knew he did that film. Yeah. Huh. Yeah, interesting. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. You don't get too many films from one director, multiple films from one director in the same year. That's pretty interesting. So it'd be cool if they've released all 3 in 1 year. You get a whole trilogy in 1 year. Like, has that ever happened? Probably not.
No,
dude, I can't believe he did this in 52 days. What a fucking monster.
Yeah, I read that on the thing. That was like 52
That's
days.
fucking crazy. I wonder how much money like each movie costs. Like if like he probably said, "Give me this much money, I'll make you 3 goddamn movies."
I mean, the first film doesn't have a massive cast, right? You got your 2 main characters, and you got your killers and stuff. But it ventures out a little bit. There's some, but like
he's handled big productions. Like I can do one of these fucking. I can do 3 of these bullshit movies, no fucking problem. I got this.
Yeah, yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, I don't think he's done too many horror films recently. So to like,
he's probably just like he probably the opportunity probably came up, and he was like, "Don't fucking make me. I'll give you this much money. I'll make you 3 fucking movies because I know what I'm doing. I've been doing this for like 40 years now."
Yeah, and he hasn't directed a horror film in holy fuck. I mean,
I think it's cool that they announced it as a trilogy, and they announced. What's that?
Oh, I said since the mid 2000s, he hasn't directed a horror.
That makes me like more inclined to like really want to like it, so I can just be excited for the next one.
I mean, I get why people would hate on it. I mean, I totally get it, but I just took it as once I read that shit, I'm like, okay, it's pretty much gonna be a remake and stuff. And then,
yeah, well, I think most people that are most annoyed about it are like that it's just a retread of the first film, but it's like, I guess to get like the really what it comes down to is the sequels.
Well, that's what I said to Dylan after we watched the film. I said, this is basically just a setup. You had to use the original premise, but now from the way this film ends, now we have a totally new narrative. There's going to be different things happening, and it might get pretty interesting. So just put it that way.
Maybe I'll see this Friday. I'm trying to like really like catch every like.
I want to see Mad Max.
I'm gonna see that.
It's fucking pretty awesome.
Yeah, I've heard like maybe 2 people say it's not like great.
Well, the only people that I want to hear from are the people that
it's a prequel to
what they saw from Fury, what they thought of Fury Road.
So this is what I don't know if you saw what Dan said, but Dan said that like the biggest issue with it is like there are some CG things, some CG, and that's kind of what I've seen as the biggest complaint, that there's like some pretty bad CGI in it at times. And it's not like like the Road Warrior where they're in the desert just fucking blowing shit up. So he said it was great, like he liked it, but it's like it's not as good as Fury Road or like the Road Warrior.
Yeah, well, the Road Warrior is like the height of that.
I just didn't like the fact that it's like a prequel, basically.
It's a prequel.
And that's like I don't really have
to Mad Max, because it's her younger.
I don't have any nostalgic attachment to Mad Max, so like I'm just like very like just like open to whatever they want to do. You know what I mean? I think some people like sometimes get like.
I'm not even a big fan of Mad Max. I actually like the sequels more.
Yeah, I'm not.
Well, no, the first Mad Max, I try to like that movie and I never can.
You know what's crazy about the first Mad Max? There's literally no story and nothing happens.
Yeah, like I don't.
Road Warrior,
not a fan of that movie.
It's the absolute meaning of overrated movie. It's crazy.
The Road Warrior, though, to me is like the height of that type of movie. Like it's perfect.
Yeah, Road Warrior is a great sequel because it's funny because like outdoes the first one.
Don't get me wrong, like I think Fury Road is great, but I just like don't think it's good as like it's as good as most people like thought it was. And these people are coming at me crazy because they know I was
honestly, dude, I'm in the same boat, man.
Like they were coming at me crazy because they knew I was like a big Top Gun Maverick stan. They're like, you think that movie's better than this movie?
Well, there's just the
fucking hate the original Top Gun. I've never checked out.
Me too, but like I don't like the original Top Gun. I think the original Top Gun's
corny. It's super.
I think
corny,
it's a chick flick in disguise.
Yo, it's total Cornball Shit.
Like I swear to God, that part every time I watch that movie, and like he looks him at the end and goes like, "You can ride my tail anytime."
Yeah,
like every time I think they're gonna kiss.
Well, dude, it's kind of just. I mean, he's telling you what they're gonna do later.
No, Tarantino said a bunch of other stuff, but like this is something like I personally feel every time I see that movie.
Isn't there a movie where they talk about?
There's a movie. He goes into the whole thing. Why it's the gayest movie ever made? I forgot what it's called, but if you just type in like Tarantino, like Top Gun,
bro,
it's hilarious. It's so fucking funny. I don't think he says that in particular. But what he says, like, I think he makes another comment about that movie, about like what, like, he says something else about it, but I remember like I rewatched it for the first time like in years like before I went to see Top Gun Maverick, and I got to that part and he was like, just the way he was looking, I was like, this guy's gonna fucking kiss.
Dude, I don't want to talk about Top Gun.
No, it's super cornball, man. Even the soundtrack is corny, and oh man, I can't do it, dude. I can't do Top Gun.
Yeah, I hate the first
Cornball.
one, but Top Gun Maverick kicks ass.
No.
No. I honestly, I never associate Tom Cruise with the word kick ass. It's just me. I honestly, like, I've talked about him so many times, and I'm like, I swear there's like 4 films I actually like with him, and Cocktails is one of them, which is kind of funny. The word cock is in the movie.
That was just screwing on the Criterion channel. They did like a Razzies thing where they streamed like Razzies movies for a month, and that was one of them.
I hate Razzies.
They streamed. No, but this was the funny part. Yeah, the Cocktails one. That was one that they streamed. Another one they streamed that like it was like the most watched movie that like was like the most streamed movie of the month was Freddy Got Fingered.
Oh, Tom Green, man. Tom Green.
Dude, how funny is it the Criterion channel streamed Freddy Got Fingered?
Oh my god, dude, that movie.
It actually seems appropriate, kind of.
I would snap by it. I watched it. I laughed so fucking hard. It's like if that kid, it's like a 90-minute episode of like Wonder Shows, and
I could see this new generation being so offended by that fucking movie, man. Like to the point where they're like, hey, they're making like web pages ban Freddy Got Fingered, man.
when he's like caning the girl like in the wheelchair and the shit.
Oh, dude.
He's like, oh my god. Green. So much like he literally like jerks off a horse in the movie. It's so fucking funny.
Isn't there a part in the movie with the, like dead babies and shit like that or something like that?
There's a part where like he's trying to be a doctor and he's like delivers a baby and he grabs it and he like literally holds it by the umbilical cord. Like,
oh yeah, that's what it is. I haven't seen it forever. That's what it is.
And then he cuts it with like his teeth and the baby's okay.
Man, Tom Green was out of control in those days. Man.
Dude, like literally like out of country. He was like that type of humor is so far ahead of its time.
Tom Green's responsible for the JRE.
Yeah, Tom Green's like a Canadian legend too, man. Like that guy's fucking huge up here, man.
There's a video of when Tom Green was hosting an internet show.
Right. I know what you're
Joe
talking
Rogan was on it, and he's like, wow, this is really a good idea, man. Like, this is really cool. Like, you could say whatever you want and stuff. And next thing you know, Joe Rogan got a podcast. Next thing you know, signed $100 million deal with Spotify.
Man, Tom Green has done a lot of shit in his career. Like, he started, like, he was a rapper one time, man. Like, fucking Organized Noise. Like, that was fucking Check the OR shit, man. That was early 90s. And then he had the Tom Green Show, which no one knew that he came from that era. And then, man, he did a lot of stuff in his career, man. Fucking weird, fucking funny ass dude, though. Super eccentric. I like him.
He was that type of humor is like 20 years before its time.
Yeah. Yeah, good shit, man. But Tom Green's not very hard, so we should probably move on.
Yep, let's move on. I got thunderstorms coming in.
That means fucking power's going out or what?
We're gonna get those thunderstorms tomorrow,
too, man. Oh fuck, it's been so bad here, man. It's been piss and rain for 10 days.
I just heard loud ass thunder.
Does that usually mean the power's going out?
Sometimes.
Oh, fuck's sakes.
If it starts raining crazy, I'll be so mad.
All right, so what we'll do here is end the intro, and we'll get into these featured reviews here in a minute.
And now, our feature presentation.
All right, so getting into the featured reviews here on episode 263.
A bucket of blood.
Roger Corman. I want to say volume 1 because you never know. We might do another Roger Corman show. I don't know.
Director Spotlight.
Spotlight.
This is like a damn filmmaker spotlight.
Pretty much.
I mean, like, yeah, you could do that, and then we could just pick like more, like you could pick more, like, you know, specific Corman films instead of just 1959 ones.
Yeah, there was definitely an agenda here, like we said before. He directed 2 horror films in 1959. We're killing 2 birds with 1 stone here.
Which we love to do. We love killing birds.
It's just it's a showcase too. So it's like this is like a commercial for 1959.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a good segue right there. We love killing birds. Hey, there might be a killing birds show coming up soon here too.
Yeah.
Never know.
So Roger Corman.
Okay, so Roger Corman, We're going to start off. The first film here is, of course, from 1959, and it's called A Bucket of Blood, directed by the man himself, Roger Corman, starring Dick Miller. And what's interesting about Dick Miller starring in this film, I think this is like one of
he starred?
This is like one of 3 starring roles that Dick Miller ever had in his career. And like
That's crazy thinking how many movies he was in.
Oh, he was in, IMDb says 185, but I've, again, I think these numbers a little bit. I've heard he's been in over 200 films.
He's such a bit player. Like I've always been a huge fan of Dick
He has
Miller.
bit parts in like 30s and 40s westerns that like I'll randomly see.
It's crazy. Like this guy shows up in everything. And it's super weird to see Dick Miller young when you watch A Bucket of Blood, because I'm so used to see Dick Miller like later on.
That's like how I felt like the first time I saw Dennis Hopper, like when he was like 21 years old, after only seeing old man Dennis Hopper.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like Tommy Lee Jones. You ever seen Tommy Lee Jones young? I swear he was born old.
I think the youngest I've seen him in is Rolling Thunder. He just like look that young in that movie.
Right. Yeah.
You ever see like movies or like memes where it's like these parents were supposed to be 32 years old and they look like they're like 55.
Well, that's the thing about old movies though too. Like people just looked older than their age. Like
hell yeah, dude.
To be honest, like Dick Miller in this movie was like 30, 31 years old.
He looks so young.
He looks, to me, he looks like he's 40. I don't know what it is. I think it's just the aesthetic. I think it's just the clothes. It's just the hairstyles. It's just the way they were presented. Everyone just seemed to look. Yeah, they just looked older.
I think that's a big thing. Like they have like very mature like style.
Yeah, but it's the haircuts. I mean, you look at his hairstyle. I mean, I associate that with being someone that's older. It doesn't really look hip to me, but it was in 1959 in the beatnik era, right? It's like so. Anyways, quick little synopsis on A Bucket of Blood. A dim-witted busboy as a beatnik cafe passes off a cat as he accidentally killed and covered in plaster as a sculpture, prompting a demand for more art that compels him to commit murders. So, I remember watching this movie years ago and instantly thinking House of Wax. It's very similar to House of Wax, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
In a sense.
What year did House of Wax come out?
I think it was 53.
Yeah, 53 sounds
and
right.
you gotta remember,
there's mystery at the Wax Museum.
Yeah, because
I'm talking about the Vincent Price one.
Yeah, so House of Wax, for a lot of people that don't know, is actually a remake of the 30s film.
Mystery at the Wax Museum.
Yeah, sometime in the 30s.
That movie's good.
And so like when the remake came out in the 2000s, people were like, oh, the remake. I'm like, actually, it's a second remake.
Yeah.
I
like the 30s one. The 30s one's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, I like House of Wax too, man. I mean, it's got Charles Bronson in it. It's cool.
That's the one where they do it in like 3D, where he has like the yo-yo too.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Oh my god, that gave me like so much like claustrophobia. This guy like throwing a yo-yo. In my
I thought the 50s one was in 3D.
That's what I'm saying.
The 51.
Okay.
I was like clarifying. That's the one with the yo-yo.
Yeah, I actually got to see that in the theater in 3D. It was really
That's
fun.
awesome. That sounds so cool.
Yeah, it's like an early role for Bronson. He's actually in a non-speaking role because he's kind of like the henchman kind of thing. He's like sidekick kind of thing, but doesn't speak in that one. But A Bucket of Blood, man. Yeah, starring Dick Miller. You guys have seen this movie before, right?
Yeah, I saw it before.
Yeah, I owned a Blu-ray that Olive put out from years ago.
Yeah, me too. I actually own the one that Film Detective put out too, but I watched the Olive one again. So.
And then I saw this.
Yeah.
I saw this on Joe Bob. Like I said, they showed it for this season opener type thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then I rewatched it again. So I've already watched it this year, actually.
I wish I would have watched the Joe Bob version. I should have thought about that. That would have been cool.
I think.
I don't know why you guys never do that. Like there was so many movies.
I probably liked them. I
always watch the Joe Bob.
I know. I never do. I never do.
I mean, it does kind of suck because you get a 69-minute movie that ends up taking 2.5 hours to watch.
Well, 66 minutes.
Yeah.
Right.
I think I had like a horror challenge like in Halloween one year, and like one of the categories is like a Roger Corman movie, and this is like the movie I picked. I definitely watched this once randomly a couple of years ago.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird title because the title does not fit the movie, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's really weird.
No, that's a good point. Actually, A Bucket of Blood does not really fit the mold of the movie per se.
It's a good title though.
No, A Bucket of Blood is great, but
Yeah, it's a great
when
title.
when you think of Bucket of Blood, like you're literally thinking A Bucket of Blood.
Yeah.
There's no Bucket of Bloods in this movie.
This was like the era where they would sometimes title movies just like something gross sounding to get the teenagers to go to the drive-in.
That's exactly what I was thinking. I was like, this seems like it's a great title. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the other one? I Drink Your Blood.
I Drink Your Blood. Ugh.
Which, in a sense, I mean, there is consumption of blood and stuff like that in that. So, I mean, it makes a little bit more sense than this one, A Bucket of Blood. But, I mean, this movie is essentially just a parody of the beatnik era, which I think is actually really clever. And I think, like, you know, if you take this movie for face value, you know,
I actually never knew what beatnik was until watching this Joe Bob thing.
It's just an anti-culture establishment of people and stuff like that. It's, you know,
it's like a jazzy, artsy.
Yeah, it was people that were into the jazz music and the arts and stuff like that. They were just kind of anti-society and stuff. They just kind of did their own thing.
Like coffee shops became a thing because of the beatniks.
Yeah, they just did their own thing. They were
open mics and shit.
Anti-material people. Like they were just against, you know, society, like the normal parts of society and stuff.
Yeah, it's like a precursor to hippies almost there. Or what's the like current one that we had? Hipsters. Right?
Yeah,
Hipster.
I feel like a lot of like kids like me who grew up like in the emo. I feel like a lot of the people like my age who like grew up in like the emo kid era like kind of transitioned just as like the hipsters. This is like the natural progression as the adult.
Yeah,
but this is like so much more respectable. Like when you talk about hipsters, you're just like, oh man, hipsters. But you talk about like
when I was in good shape, like in my 20s, when I was like good shape, I was kind of a hipster.
I think when it comes down to
like you would be kind of a hipster.
The difference
that was kind of my game.
The difference between beatniks and like hipsters for myself is like at least the beatniks were listening to dope music like jazz, where hipsters are listening to like that crybaby shit and stuff.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was listening to. I'm not gonna pretend I wasn't. I still.
Oh, dude, I can't.
I was like.
But jazz music was always anti-establishment, right? Like jazz music was based on anti-establishment, and that's actually one of the biggest problems I have with this movie. And I don't think it was intentional. I'm assuming it wasn't, because Roger Corman eventually did like The Intruder, that was like anti-white, like not anti-white, but he was, you know, addressing the racial issues and stuff like that. But like when I think of jazz music, I think of, you know, black jazz artists and stuff like that, because that's where jazz music originates from, as black artists and stuff. And if you notice one thing about this movie that's really interesting, there's no black people in this movie at all. And all you hear is jazz music. You hear the spoken word stuff. You hear all that type of stuff. There's literally no black people in this movie at all. It's very odd to me that you're going to do like an anti-establishment jazz type.
Actually, kind of makes sense because white people kind of stole jazz in general. So,
well, I mean, we all know that. I mean, we all know that Elvis was.
I had a class. Yeah,
Elvis was a rip-off artist. Yeah.
High school, like when I was going to my senior year, like I had like all my credits already except for like English, so I could like just take a bunch of bullshit classes, and one of them was a history of American music, and they literally just like taught us like, yeah, white people stole this music from black people in like the 20s and just kept ripping them off.
But maybe that's part of the joke. Maybe
it's the funny part. He's like, so this is by this artist in 1948, and then they play like, and this is by the Beach Boys. It's like the same.
But maybe that's part of the joke, because, you know, essentially this movie is considered to be a parody of that time period. I mean, maybe that's the point of not having black people in it, is like, you know, it's just proving that white people completely stole this shit from them, right? You know, by not having them in the film, it's like, oh shit, it's just, this is anti-establishment. It's like white people were, you know, fucking against the system and shit, but in fact they just stole this right from the blacks. It's ridiculous. It's actually kind of funny when you think about it. It's funny in a really kind of awkward way, but what are your guys' thoughts on A Bucket of Blood?
I fucks with it. I like it. I think that pretty good performance by Dick Miller. I like how, you know, he's it's different to sort of make your lead sort of like a dim-witted like guy who doesn't really get like social situations, and he's sort of inspired to be an artist because that's what everybody's into, and his crush is into that. So he like sort of like falls into this like artistry. Damn, my power just flickered. Because you know, he accidentally kills the cat in the wall, and then he covers it in I guess plaster.
Is it just me, or like, I mean, it probably has something to do with that. Like Dick Miller's character is fucking stupid. Like he's obviously low IQ and stuff, but like
That's what I got out
who
of
just
it.
drives a fucking knife into the wall thinking that like, oh, I might miss, but like if I don't, this might happen.
Dude, and then he just like hit the wall and like it like came apart so easy.
It's like so ridiculous.
That's movie magic.
Dude,
He like hits the wall once and like it like a block around the knife like perfectly like comes out.
I mean, it fits his like it feels like that's something that a character like that would do. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it just
really
feels like
think
it's
it
going
through.
for like a comedy of errors type deal.
Mhm.
Right.
And
It almost has that Black Cat feel though too at that point where he like stabs in the wall.
Might be a little nod to it, you know. Corman was going to be swimming in those Po waters in a couple of years. So
Yeah,
maybe
it's crazy. I know. I was kind of consider this kind of be like a prequel to that, you know, his Poe era.
Maybe
Yeah,
he was reading. Maybe he was going over and reading the books, and he was like,
right.
And I particularly like how, as like an audience, like this art looks like shit, but like to these beatniks, it's like, oh my god,
Yeah, again,
so amazing.
that hipster shit, right?
I was
It's like,
dying.
oh,
at
that's
the,
cool,
dude,
man.
I was like cracking up at the innuendo in this movie. Like I was like shocked. Like there's that part where the woman like literally says to him after he has like the cat sculpture, where she's like, "You're a hot light bulb, and I want you warm inside of me." It's like,
Right.
Oh my god.
fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, and that's is that the same girl that's in the Wasp Woman too? Is that the
I'm
same
not
one?
sure.
The one that he has the crush on? It? Well, the crush, his crush in this film. She's in the Wasp Woman also. She's one of the
It
associates.
probably was the same one then.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
but
I
I
didn't
like
notice.
the just the different characters, like the guy that like kind of solves that he's killed the cat, and then when he sees like that there's the what is it, the murdered man sculpture.
I love how the names are just so they're so obvious.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like nobody's like, hey, fucking cat's been missing around here lately.
That's what I
Just
said
when
about the
this guy
cop. I'm
brings
like,
up a
how come no one was
sculpture.
looking for the cop that went missing? I'm
Dude,
like,
it's
what
fucking pouring.
the fuck is that? Like a
Dude, like,
fucking cop.
I
went
don't
missing.
know if I'm just fixating on that part with the frying pan, but this movie, like in a way, kind of reminded me of Eating Raoul, like a comedy of errors, like with like murder.
A little bit. You know what, man? Honestly, they could have taken a little bit of inspiration from this, to be honest. I never thought of that with Eden Raoul, but like, you're right, though. I mean, in a sense, like I said, this is totally a parody of the times and stuff, so it's not
I'm like
meant to
in
be
completely
completely
like
serious.
the most broadest of strokes, but I don't know if I'm just fixating on the frying pan, but
Can you
like
guys hear that?
I can hear it.
Damn, it's like coming down like crazy.
Uh-oh.
It's not like obnoxious in the mix here, nothing. So,
Yeah, okay.
but
I don't hear it at all.
no, it totally isn't. But
So I kind of like that too. It's like almost like these. First, it's like accidental murders, and then like it becomes. And also, like that whole scene with the like heroin is like, dude, what the fuck?
yeah, the heroin shit is like, I mean, do you notice like there's a lot of people in this crowd, and again, it's like a parody on it too. It's obviously a little bit of overexposed on it, but like, you know, these people are super faded all the time. So is that like a big thing in the beatnik crowd? They were just always
Yeah,
fucked
I
up
guess
on
so.
drugs, and like, because every scene there's these dudes that are just like out to fucking lunch.
I didn't even know heroin was a thing back then.
Yeah,
I
no,
honestly
it was.
didn't.
It definitely was. But like, man, they really exploit the fact that like these people are so fucked up. I mean, they don't go as far as showing them doing the drugs and stuff, but they show the after effects, and like these people are faded to the point where it's just like, it's super comical. But I mean, that was the point of the parody though, too, was to kind of exploit these people in this kind of weird subculture of like music, art, and drugs. Right. And, you know, kind of people, how they can fall into it. And Dick Miller is like the product of somebody that is so displaced in society that he doesn't belong in like, you know, the regular world. He doesn't belong in their world either, but he's trying to make it in this world because it seems like it's the right thing to do, even though he's going, you know, he's like, he knows that killing is wrong.
Could you imagine if
I do this shit?
when I was watching this, I was thinking like, what if this was Ernest instead of Dick
It would be
Miller?
a complete comedy. It wouldn't just be a satire. It'd be like a
Dude, it'd be
bonafide
so
comedy.
funny though if Ernest killed the cat by mistake. It's like- dude, I just picture it like that's a movie right there, bro.
Oh,
That's a movie.
Right. But I honestly think Dick Miller. I think Dick Miller is really good in this role. To be honest, he plays it really, really well. It's convincing.
He plays the dim-witted aspect very good.
Very good. Yeah,
and
that's like pretty much like any role I've like ever seen him in, like where he actually gets to talk. He's always a kind of a dimwit.
Yeah, I mean, he has so many just background second D characters.
Yeah. I mean, one of my favorite characters he ever did is in Gremlins.
Right.
I like the neighbor character, and he comes back for Gremlins too as well.
Yeah.
When I think of him, I always think of Demon Knight, and I think of Small
Soldiers. Oh, he's good in there.
Demon Knight. Yeah, right.
Yeah,
right.
Uncle Willie.
Right.
Oh, Small Soldiers. He sold the toys, right?
Yeah, he was the truck. He was the truck driver.
Yeah. I mean, dude, there's there's so many movies that he pops up in, right? Like, so.
Yeah.
Is he in The Howling?
He might be. It wouldn't surprise me.
Dude, I can't remember.
I don't remember though. Like, can't remember him being in it.
You know what I thought was really crazy, man? There's that scene where, that dude comes in and he talks to the coffee house owner, the art shop owner, whatever the fuck you want to call him. The dude that, kind of figures out the whole thing.
Yeah.
So he's willing to pay $500 for, I think it was the dead cat sculpture at the time. And he wanted first bids on like his next work and stuff like that. Again, it was like a huge parody. It kind of made me laugh, but like $500 in 1959, I did a quick calculation. As of 2022, that was $5,000 and $5,028. That's a fuck ton of money, dude. Just for like a fucking little cat sculpture. I'm like, what the fuck? 1959 dropping $500 on a cat sculpture. It was fucking nuts.
Yeah, it's like $5,400 in 2024 money.
As of today, like, I mean, I did it for 2022. I don't know why this is the way it came up. But anyways, the point, again, that's playing into the comedy factor of it too. It's like these guys are so ridiculous with art. Art is so stupid. Like, I've talked about it before. I don't understand art, dude. I don't understand why certain pieces sell for ridiculous amounts and certain pieces don't, because I look at some art and I'm like, oh, that's really cool. And people are like, that sucks. I'm like, what? I just don't fucking get art. And I think I
understand like a lot of the most historical paintings.
Well, I get things like certain artists for the uniqueness of their styles.
Yeah, I think like a lot of those, like looking back, like seeing their style and like what they were able to create, like at their time period, you look at what other people are doing then, like how that looks like, 100 years later. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, I understand why the price, like it's driven so high up, because it's like, it really is just like rich people that have access to these things, and it's just rich people.
But it's like this high art.
Just to put that in perspective, in 1959, the average house in America cost $12,000.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and that's the joke in the scene, is that this guy's willing to pay pretty much half the price of a house for a fucking dead cat.
Right, like $12,000.
He's making fun of these people because it's stupid.
Money. $12,000.
$12,000 back then, I guess.
Yeah.
So then that would be like $120,000.
Yeah.
Still, that's one-third of what the average cost.
But $120,000 around here wouldn't even get you a garage.
That's what I mean.
It's like
yeah, and the average price of gas in 1959 was 25 cents a gallon.
Yeah, right. I remember my high school, even like in the 90s. I remember my high school teacher telling me, he's like, I used to like fill up my tank and give him 20 and get change back.
Dude, I used to talk to my neighbor, my neighbor who, like, when he was a kid, he said that every Friday his dad would give him like 15 cents. And he would go to the movies and get popcorn and a hot dog and a drink, and then afterwards would go get a slice of pizza.
My mom would tell me stories about they would get $5 and they could go to the movies. They would buy McDonald's for my mom and like her 3 siblings, and they go to the movies on $5.
It's insane,
right?
Like, what the fuck? What the fuck?
Dude, if you take a family to the movies and get all the shit,
yeah,
you're spending $100, bro.
Dude, I was at the cinema a few weeks back.
I get why people complain now. Like, it doesn't bother me, because like majority of the time I go to the theaters alone. And
I just get a popcorn, which I usually buy the yearly bucket. So it's $5, and then my movie ticket's free because I do the AMC Plus thing.
See, I don't have any of those deals, man.
So I have Cinemark. You pay $9.99 a month. You get no ticket fees, and you get one free ticket a month. So you get your money back just for subscribing. And then
Yeah.
so you get no fees for like going ahead online. You get 20% off of concessions, but if you went to the movies 25 times the year before, which is like one of us is going to do, you get 25% off instead. And you also get access. There's one day a week where it's like $6 to like get into the movies. If you're,
I feel like I should get some deals, man, because I go enough.
but
And
yeah,
I don't
How
get
the A-list one works is it's $23 a month, and you can see 3 movies a week. So,
Yeah.
and it allows you to see 3D, IMAX, Dolby, like all the special things. The only thing it doesn't let you do is like the Fathom events. But so essentially, if you see 2 movies and you gain points for anything you buy,
well, you gain points for this too, which eventually I just cash in for more tickets.
I cash in for like popcorns and drinks and stuff.
Yeah,
But
that's the thing though. I don't buy anything.
I mean, I got my
I'll buy
famous player
something.
points that I can use and stuff. And actually, the other day she actually told me what my points were, and I was like, "Holy shit, I got a lot of fucking points, man!" So, I mean,
if you see 2 movies though, it pretty much pays for the pass.
Yeah. See, I wish we had those type of deals, but like when I go, it's like I think it's $12 to see the film, and then popcorn, drink, whatever.
Dude, I remember when
So
I
I'm looking
first
at close to
started
$30.
going to the movies in like middle school, the tickets were like $5.25.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I remember that.
actually.
You're right. They're like,
And I also
like,
remember
then
the
I remember
ticket stubs were so much like more like durable.
Dude, the
You could
early
actually
I
90s?
remember
them.
that too. You're absolutely right.
On
And then I remember they
Tuesdays?
went to $7.25, and I'll never forget this. I remember this would have been 2000, like 2000. Like I'd have to double check the year, but I was going to the movies with my mom, and like there was like a guy walking out with his kid, and he's like, "We can see it," and like they couldn't see. The movie was Finding Nemo. There was a giant line because of that movie, and the guy was walking out the kid, and the kid was upset, and the dad goes like, "We can see it next week. I'm not paying $10 a ticket to see a movie."
Oh man, what a dream that guy was.
Yeah, I
in.
miss the
Oh,
early
my
90s
God.
with like the
Do you
half
remember
price
that though?
Tuesdays.
That like,
So cheap.
no, do you remember that though? Like, I didn't even think about that. Like,
They still do like
back
the
then. But
cheaper
back then,
Tuesdays.
like they would be like
It's
I do
discounted
remember
Tuesdays
this.
now. It's not half price Tuesdays. It used to be half price.
Well,
It was
this
crazy.
is the thing. Like I remember this like when I was a kid now because my mom would say the same thing. Do you guys remember that? I guess like after 2 weeks, like certain movies would be cheaper because they've already been playing for 2 weeks.
Yeah, it depended on the theaters. Yeah,
Yeah.
I know the wife used to tell me like
Yeah.
they would have movies play in one theater and then they would move over to the Toonie theaters and you pay like $2 to go watch the same movie like 2 weeks later.
Yeah,
Like,
we
what the
actually had a dollar theater for a long time.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly what a Cinemark ticket costs. But like for the $9.99 you get a month, you get a free ticket, and if you don't use it, it just rolls over, which is good because sometimes
wow.
so sometimes I
cool.
will just go through like lulls where I just like get burnt out and don't go to the movies for 2 months, and all of a sudden I have 3 free movies to see.
Mhm.
My biggest issue with movie theaters right now is I don't have any that are close to me. They all shut down. So the closest one
sucks.
to me is like 45 minutes away.
Oh,
No,
that
shit.
blows.
I'm literally
That really
5 minutes away,
sucks.
not even 5 minute drive away to mine.
I have one. Yeah, I have one like 15 minutes away. That's pretty decent. Like it gets at least all like like the Studio Ghibli
It
movies
kills me,
stuff,
bro.
and it gets like some of the retro.
I live
ones.
perfectly in place to everything in the town though. Like I live not downtown, but I live just on the outskirts of it. So like I'm really close to everything. So
Yeah,
I have like four or five theaters. They're all like 45 minutes to an hour
dude,
away
that
from
sucks,
me.
man. I would never even fucking fuck with that, man.
So I got
I
four.
used to have one that was 20 minutes away from me.
I have 3 Cinemarks. So like one of them's 15
Mine
minutes
takes
away.
me
That's
4 or
my
5 minute
regular
drive.
one. And then there's one like 30 minutes away that sometimes gets odd stuff that the one closest to me doesn't get. Like I got to see I Saw the TV Go There in Late Night with the Devil. And then there's another one that gets like the most obscure stuff, like that plays in like Cinemarks, like 40 minutes away. I only go there occasionally. Like I went to see Perfect Blue there last year. And then I have an art house theater that's like 35 minutes away where they'll play like historical movies like 2001 A Space Odyssey, and they'll play like
one of my favorite
horror
theaters
movies.
ever is the Hollywood Theater in Pittsburgh. It was built in like 1920 and it's a historical landmark. You know what I mean? It was built
That's sick.
built in 1920. You know, it's 100 years old. And it was awesome. They would always do like old school stuff there. They would do like I saw Hatchet 4 with Adam Green there. They did like a John Carpenter fest. Like I saw Suspiria there in the actual Italian
I would love to
language
see that. That's one of my bucket list movies. I haven't been able to see.
I don't enjoy that as much.
Nah, me neither. But
I
it
just
was
want to
just
see
interesting.
Suspiria.
Well, because it's shot in
real
English,
theater.
right? So it's kind of weird to watch the English or the Italian. I hate watching Italian dubs when they're shot in English. It's like it just feels awkward to me.
Yeah,
I don't even know-
2001's probably my
Was it
biggest
shot in
bucket list
English?
movie. I'm seeing that in July.
Well, the lead's American, right? It was shot in English, yeah.
Yeah. I think it was just shot without sound. Wasn't that the era you still couldn't record with sound?
I thought it was just shot and then everybody was just speaking their natural language and then they did two dubs.
That's what my impression was, because I remember hearing stories too, or like interviews from Justin.
I mean, they could have done that. Obviously, a lot of the
I think that's what they did, because I'm pretty
though.
sure you couldn't shoot with sound at that time in Italy.
No, they just preferred. Well, they could. They just preferred not, because it was a cost efficient thing, right? It was just cheaper to film without sound and then do the dub after. So
I remember like seeing interviews from people in Suspiria where they said it'd be weird, like everybody talking their own language, and people would literally be just like hammering, working on sets in the background, like while like they're filming.
Yeah, it's possible they did that. But anyway, my point is that this theater was awesome. My favorite place when I discovered it, I saw like 2 of the later Amityville sequels on 35 millimeter there, like just weird shit, you know? And then some place from Chicago bought it, and this was a nonprofit theater.
Fucking Jeremy.
And then they bought it and ruined it, bro. It became like a second run theater. Like it was just like, you want to see the new Planet of the Apes movie a month after it came out for $5? Go to this theater, and this historical theater.
Right.
And it sucked. And then, but now this other company bought it that owns like another like theater in Pittsburgh called Row House, which is where they showed Cannibal Holocaust actually yesterday. And they're just like a retro theater that shows, you know, old shit. Like they do like themes and stuff. Sometimes they'll do like dinner in a movie or like breakfast in a movie or something like that. Shit like that.
Do you have any Alamo Draft Houses near you?
No.
Oh, man,
those are not. Those are all in the South and West.
I'm pretty sure that's in Texas. That's just in Texas.
Didn't know.
No, the Alamo, the Alamo, like that's just in
I
Texas.
think there's
more
a
than just Texas. Yeah, I know
West Coast too.
I know there's some more in the South. I was
the original one, right?
Yeah, I was wondering if they're up as high as like Pittsburgh.
This new company bought the Hollywood Inn and is renovating it, and then it's gonna open it end of summer and be like what it used to be. So I cannot wait for that.
Oh, it's
my favorite theater, man.
Yeah,
that's cool,
like man. There's an art house too that both me and Dan can go. Dan goes like 5-10 minutes away from it, I think, and he goes there like almost every other day. But like they released their summer run of like retro movies they're playing, and it's like absolutely insane. It's like 2001: A Space Odyssey. Like it's got so many like dream movies on there. I can't even remember like.
Okay, stop rubbing it in. Fuck's sakes.
Oh, also I saw Phantasm on 35 there, and I saw one of the first screenings of Phantasm Ravager there, which was so cool.
I don't know how you fucking record when you're just jerking off over there the whole time. Like seriously. What you're doing, man? He's just like, I saw Phantasm.
Anyway, Bucket of Blood.
Fuck you, man. Fuck you.
I think that I think it's a pretty simple movie, but I think what really sets it apart is like that beatnik cafe setting. Like
it's the music. Honestly, the aesthetic and the music for me is what really kind of separate. You don't see a lot of horror films that have jazz soundtracks like this. It's pretty cool. Honestly, name me another one. Like it's pretty unique.
Stuff from the 90s.
Yeah, we actually get the early. Yeah, you're right. So fuck me. I'm totally wrong. But one thing I really, really miss about like this era of filmmaking and stuff, like it never translated into like later. I mean, there obviously was a lot of gimmicks and stuff, but
this film actually ran with Attack of the Giant Leeches at the drive-in for a double feature.
See, I miss the major gimmicks. You know, like William Castle.
He
was the king of like gimmicks and like selling.
Who was active in '59 with House on Haunted Hill.
Yep. So there's a really cool
and
kind
Tingler
of trivia thing of trivia here. It said at the time of the original release, there was a promotional in the newspaper movie section advertisements that made the offer: if you bring in a bucket of blood to your local theater's management or ticket booth, you will be given one free admission.
Ew.
What the fuck? I thought that was so worthy of mentioning because I was like, I laughed out loud reading this and I thought to myself, how many fucking people brought in a bucket of blood? And my next thought was, where the fuck did they get a bucket of blood from?
I mean, I guess if you work at a slaughterhouse, you're good to go.
Touche, right? Like 100%. Like, what the fuck? I was like, that is one of the weirdest gimmicks to sell your shit I've ever heard of, man. I mean, William Castle had some doozies, but that one is just nasty. It's crazy. So yeah, I thought it was pretty worthy of mentioning. But fun. Yeah, there is another thing in here in the trivia that says like Dick Miller wasn't happy with the impact of the low budget of the film. He felt like it could have been bigger, kind of thing and stuff. And it's interesting. It's interesting. But I mean, of course, when you look
of course it could have been bigger, and it could have been, I'm sure it did well at the drive-ins, and then obviously it's become a cult film nowadays.
I think these movies are they're so interesting to watch from these periods because like this is a 66-minute film. And I just feel like, the way movies are structured now, like we have a first act, we have a second act, we have a third act. A lot of these movies just feel like there's one act and then it just quickly jumps into the third act.
One long act and a third act.
Yeah. And then the third act is like 7 minutes long. And it's like, I get it. Like it suffers from
it always feels so weird when you're watching a movie. And traditionally,
like, this is ending in 4 minutes.
The part you're in, like in a traditional movie, there would be 30 minutes left.
Exactly. Like and this movie, and I'm not joking.
And then you look at the time, and it's like, oh, there's 4 minutes left.
Dude, this movie totally suffers from that. Like,
dude, that's how I felt like about 36 a lot of the time too. Was like, oh wait, we still have time for a happy ending.
Yeah, like I feel like there should have been another 30 minutes on this film, but it just doesn't develop like that. It's like it's fucking over, and then all of a sudden we get this like ridiculous ending. I always hated the ending in this movie. Like I
kind of liked it. I thought it was appropriate.
This movie is super nostalgic for me because like when I was growing up, I had like kind of basically stolen cable, so I used to get like a lot of free fucking movie channels, right? And this movie used to play quite a bit on one of the.
I didn't.
I used to have this channel that used to play just purely black and white movies. It was like black and white movies, right? And this movie got played quite a bit on there.
Was it Turner Classic Movies?
No, it wasn't Turner Classic. Actually, it was just strictly black and white. And it was like, I'm pretty sure it was 1960 It was pre 1960 films. It was like really old films. And this one used to get played quite a bit. And I remember every time I watch this film, it's super nostalgic. I remember when Olive sent me the Blu-ray to review. I was like, oh my God, dude. Like I've always loved this movie. I thought it was super fun. I always liked the soundtrack. I always liked what was going on and stuff, but I don't know, man. There's just something about this movie that just always hits with me, man. But it's funny when you watch it years later with a critical eye and you're like, man, it's so typical of the times to like have this act and then just end the fucking movie. It cracks me up, dude.
I don't know. The line at the end is funny.
Yeah.
Where he's like, well, I guess I won't spoil it.
No, for sure. And I don't want to give away the exact ending, but I don't know. I think it's because I always felt like that when I watched it back in the day when I was younger, like probably in the 90s. And I was like, man, I don't know. I just felt bad for Dick. Like I felt bad for him, man. Like,
Moodz loves Dick.
I love Dick. And
he doesn't want to see anything bad happen to Dick.
No, I don't want nothing bad happen to Dick. But I don't know. It's one of those movies. Like I feel like, even with the short, character development that's in the film and stuff, you do feel for him. You do feel for him a little bit and stuff. And I don't know. I
think this movie gets better the more times you see it. Like the first time I remember watching the Olive Blu-ray, I was like, it's all right. But then like watching it with Joe Bob and stuff, learning a little bit of history of the movie, understanding what the fuck a beatnik was, because I didn't even know when I'd never even heard of that before.
Yeah.
But I heard the word, but I never knew what it meant.
Yeah. But I think it gets better with more viewings. This third time I watched it, probably liked it the most here.
I think it's pretty cool though. Like there's,
I did like it a little more this time than my first watch.
There's actually a bigger body count in this film than you think there would be, for like a 60-minute film, right? I mean,
you got a cat, you got a narc, you got a woman.
I think, and then there's
a factory, a head.
Yeah, and then that's the dude that gets in like the bandsaw type thing or whatever. So that's pretty interesting. I like when he's like, you made a bust. That's my favorite part of the movie. That's the way he says it. It made
when
me
that
laugh every time.
When that woman was like, "You're a hot light bulb, and I want you warm inside of me," that fucking sent me. Like, I would not expect that coming from someone's mouth in a movie from 1959.
Right. It does.
Well, even the girl that was going to pose nude for him, I was like, oh, little taboo.
Like,
it actually would have been appropriate to put the nudity in that film though, because like the artists, the art factor of like nudity and stuff like that it's like a normal thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what was the first time there was nudity in an American film? Late 50s or early 60s?
Oh, it had to be in the 50s.
In like there were the nudie cuties around this time.
Yeah, like the mainstream. Like
the early 60s started really exploiting that.
I think Jane Mansfield was the first woman to have nudity.
Really?
Not sure. Yeah, I think it was like her in a late 50s movie. I really don't know. I know she was one of the first, at least.
Yeah, they were doing it in Europe way before us, I think.
The earliest I've seen it in is Japanese movies from like the early 60s.
I mean, there's some nudity in Dante's Inferno.
Is it? I've actually never seen that. That's probably one of my bigger
like from the 20s?
1911 or something?
Oh shit, it's that early.
Yeah, that's like really early.
Wow.
I think, yeah.
I've never seen it before either. So
yeah, you have.
Yeah, I'm like, even like if you like,
we
think
reviewed
about,
it
like,
on this show, bro.
Oh fuck, the one from Oh yeah, you're right. I totally forgot about that.
Even if you think about like,
dude, I'm thinking of something totally different, man. I don't know what.
Even if you think about like pre-30s movies, I've probably even only seen maybe like 20 of like the most like prominent ones. You know what I mean? Like not an.
I completely forgot we talked about that. It's crazy.
Yeah, I haven't seen a ton of like pre-30s movies, but I've seen some of the better ones, Dante's Inferno.
Yeah, that's
I've seen probably all
Cabinet.
Yeah,
I've seen all the
like
notable.
Probably 20 of them. Yeah, I've seen probably like 20 of them, but they're all like just like the most notable ones.
I've seen all like the notable early silent films like Nosferatu and shit. Like I've seen all those.
I actually saw one this week that like blew my fucking shitter out. It was Victor Seastrom. It was the guy that made the Phantom Carriage. He made some movies in the late 20s and the mid 20s in America. He did this one, The Wind. It's not like classified as a horror movie, but it's something that like I would think would be horror, like based on like 1936. And it was like it might be like it was at least as good as the Phantom Carriage. It was like, it was like I was super impressed by it. And like usually like, I'm not like that hot like on like silent films. Like I'm even probably lower than like some people would be like on some of the classics.
Right. Crazy. You guys have anything else on Bucket of Blood?
Nope.
All right. JP, what's your rating?
Bucket of Blood, pretty fun movie. I've always enjoyed it from when I first seen it. I think I like it a little bit more now. It has charm, good acting, simple, but at this time, a lot of horror films were simple. Definitely has that drive-in vibe. Give it a solid 4 out of 10. No, I'm kidding. 7 out of 10.
Tyler.
Yeah, this movie's cool. It's not like it's fun. Like it's fun for what it is. It's cool. It's a quick watch. It's definitely enjoyable. I liked it a little bit more this time than I did the first time. Well, it's fun. I'll give it a 6 out of 10.
Yeah, I'm also in at a 7 on this one. I enjoy the dark humor. I like the satire on the whole beatnik thing. I really enjoy the soundtrack. Dick Miller is really likable in the film, but you kind of like you just kind of get it though with him. Like he's not really a bad guy. He's kind of like embraced himself into this culture where he just wants to be
part of the part of the groups.
Yeah, he just wants to be kind of like
fit in.
He wants to fit in, essentially. Yeah, for lack of a better term, he just wants to really fit in, and it kind of exploits that a lot of it. I think it's actually quite funny because I think this movie it's a lot more comical than people probably think it is. It's really just a huge satire on this weird counterculture of the times and stuff. I'm like, what is the history with the beatniks? Like, what was this just like a 50s thing, early 60s? Like, was it around a long time? I have no idea. It's not rhetorical. I actually was asking.
Yeah, I don't really know.
Like, I really don't know. Like, it's kind of interesting because, like, I know the term. I always knew what it meant and stuff, but I had never really thought about like the time period of where this whole counterculture. I'm assuming it
would have been before the hippies.
Yeah,
because that started in like the 60s,
early 60s, anyways. Yeah. Well, actually, no. The hippie movement didn't really start till like the later 60s.
Yeah, that's
like,
what I
right before the Vietnam War, really.
I always thought they were kind of like a product of the Vietnam War.
It kind of is. Yep.
Yeah. Well, that they like definitely amped up during the Vietnam War. You know.
Yeah. So
it says that I guess like mainly the 50s. Yeah, like
just the 50s.
In 1948, the first person introduced the phrase "beat generation."
Interesting.
So like the greasers.
So probably for about like 10 years, you know.
So just post World War II, then. Interesting.
The precursor to the hipsters.
Yeah. All right.
It's very fascinating.
Yeah, I like history a lot. Like it's really like I like learning things like that.
Well, that's why I asked the question, because I was like, I just realized I didn't really know the history of like the time period. I mean, obviously this is 59 and it was a thing. So it must have been going on a while for them, for Corman to make a parody of, this whole counterculture, right?
Famous people associated to beatnik culture: Bob Dylan, the Beatles, Andy Warhol, Ken Casey, Timothy Leary.
Yeah. Yeah, all the usual suspects there, for sure. Yeah. All right. So that is A Bucket of Blood from 1959. 42 shots. All right. So getting into the second feature and final main review here on episode 263, Roger Corman, rest in peace. Also from 1959, we have The Wasp Woman.
The Wasp Woman, not a beatnik film.
Not a beatnik film at all. Kind of polar opposite, really.
Honestly, it seems like a direct response to The Fly that came out the year prior.
Oh, dude, that's
kind of that's the vibes I got.
Well, like I said with the Bucket of Blood, it was like it felt like it was kind of like his own story, based on House of Wax, right? He did his own version of that kind of thing. The Wasp Woman, I feel like, is a total direct response to The Fly. 100%.
Right, because you had this actually. The funny thing about the Wasp Woman, if you've never seen it before. So the poster is a giant bee with a woman face, but the film is a woman with a wasp face.
It's totally the polar opposite. I know, it's hilarious.
Yeah, it's so weird because you expect it to be this giant wasp with a woman face, but it's not.
I could see people watching this shit at the drive-in being like, that's not the fucking poster.
Dude, not at all. Like the poster looks bad fucking ass, dude.
I know, it totally does.
And the actual movie looks like a cheesy bee effect.
Well,
sort of like The Fly.
I gotta say though, like I really like the storyline they took, and like the
storyline's actually pretty solid.
Yeah, like I was saying before, like we started recording, like
actually the storyline is insanely.
It's really cool to me that they tackle like the idea of like body image like in this movie, and like
it's kind of tragic. Yeah, the person is the poster girl for this company, and has
like
been
they go
forever,
about it in a way you wouldn't
aging
think.
Out of it.
And like it's really cool they cover this, and like there's literally there's literally a movie like that just like got a huge hugely well received reception at Cannes that's literally about the same thing.
Yeah,
and like this is like 65 years later.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean the narrative in this film is actually quite ironic, but we'll get into that in a minute. But
so let me ask you this real quick before we get into the plot and everything. First of all, a little trivia. This actually was released with Beast from the Haunted Cave during the drive-in circuit of the 1959 season. But popped in my Scream Factory Blu-ray, and did you guys watch the theatrical or the extended edition?
Extended cut. Yeah. So
how long is the extended one?
The extended cut's about 10 minutes longer, and basically what it does
it's like 71 minutes, right?
Yeah. So there's
that's what I watched. Yeah, that's 73. What I watched. Yep.
Yeah, so it opens up with we get the extended scenes are the whole opening scenes like an extended TV version where we get the backstory with the scientist and stuff, him getting fired from this thing and stuff. And there's a couple other scenes throughout the film that are kind of extended too. But
did you know that Jack Hill
directed
directed the extended scenes?
Yes,
That's cool.
I did. Yeah,
Okay.
I did not.
yeah. All right, so synopsis on the Wasp Woman. The head of a major cosmetics company experiments on herself with a youth formula made from royal jelly extracted from wasps. But the formula's side effects have deadly consequences. The narrative here made a lot of sense because, in 1959, I think there was a lot of the things was changing, right? I mean, there was a lot of focus on beauty. There was a lot of focus on that type of, the type of shit that we call, what's the term for it? Just pure vanity shit.
Yeah, vanity. That's the right word.
Yeah. So, but I think this movie, I really enjoy this film. I think the biggest problem with this movie, though, and I hate starting with problems, but I think the biggest problem with this film is just the lack of the Wasp Woman that we get in this. Right. There's a lot of really good narrative here. There's a lot of really cool story and stuff like that. But I feel like, for a movie that runs, well, the original version is 63, it's 73 minutes long. We don't get a lot of the Wasp Woman. Maybe that's a good thing based on the poster being so badass. I have no idea. What are you guys' thoughts?
I actually really enjoyed this movie. I did like this movie. I didn't really feel like the lack of Wasp Woman was something that affected me. I actually even like the scenes. Like, I know, like, it's like literally someone just like some goofy hat on, like some goofy, like, but like they kind of
hat and gloves. Hat and gloves.
Yeah, like it kind of looked like cool when they're just like tackling the guy. Like,
I just wanted more because there's a lot of story in this, which is
I just cool. I was really impressed that they were like telling this story about like dealing with like lots of like youth and beauty. Like, I thought that was cool. Like, it's like, it's not like anything like random, but I thought that was like kind of like, I thought they did like a pretty reasonable job of like having like an interesting storyline like that while like getting to still also make their like, there can't be like B movie where you did like, I definitely would agree. It's like a response to like The Fly, but like, I probably like The Fly more, but like I did enjoy this. Like, I didn't like.
Yeah, I think that it has all the good shit that you expect from like these type of movies. Like someone who isn't ready to wait for the scientific results and pushes it faster and further. The whole idea of playing with genetics and God and stuff like that in general.
But it's the idea of not being able to succeed in like in your industry, right? Like, because they focus on cosmetics and
that
youngness
adds
and
like
beauty.
A secondary element to it that I thought was interesting, and just like the idea of aging out, of getting older and losing your youth. Like,
and it's crazy when they talk about it too. Like, even in 1959, it's like, she's like 30 years old, but she's like so fucking old. It's like crazy to me. I guess it's because I'm like in my 40s. I don't know. It just seems so young to me. But like the way they perceive it, even in 1959, is the same way we did in like the 90s and the 2000s and stuff. Is like you hit a certain age and you're just done.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that kind of scary to you?
I mean, when you think about it, like even the actress who played this character died at age 59.
Yeah, and like I said on the top of this review, I said, this movie is a little bit ironic for her main character because like this is actually technically her last movie. She was suffering from mental illness.
Oh, shit, I've totally forgot that.
Yeah, so she was suffering from mental illness, and what happened was like she had a son that was I guess was like a dwarf or something like that, and anyways, she started taking like his medicine and stuff like that. It kind of excelled her mental illness and stuff. And I guess what happened was back in the 80s, I guess she died in 1986. Her son actually ended up killing her because I guess she attacked him. Word is on the street she attacked him, and he was self-defending himself or whatever, and ended up killing his mom. Because she was having like a psychotic episode or something like that, and just kind of a crazy spiral, but it's kind of fucked up like when you really think about the narrative in this film to her taking the drugs and stuff, and she was doing the drugs in real life, and from what I read, like she was pretty gone at this point, but like her character in the film, like the way she's acting seems pretty legit though. Like she's really good in this film, really damn good. And this makes me kind of wonder, like she had this, she'd done what, 20 something films before this. She was in a lot of Westerns. She was in a lot of films that were kind of notable. And this was the end. It's fucking sad, man.
Yeah, that's kind of fucking crazy, man.
Yeah, that's weird.
It's fucking crazy, dude. Like she literally went from this is our last movie, and then she got killed by her son in 1986, I think it was, from what I read. And I was like, damn, dude, just fucking lost her mind. But I just thought it was so crazy. It had to do with what you're taking, drugs. It's like, oh man, but it wasn't like street drugs. It was medication and stuff like that. But very ironic, very ironic. I'm very sad. So, but yeah, I know. I really enjoyed this film. I reviewed this film on 31 Days of Horror, I think a couple years back or whatever. I'd seen it before. Enjoyed it. I'd never seen the extended cut though. I think I'd just seen the shorter cut. I believe I'd only seen the shorter cut. I couldn't remember. I wasn't 100% sure. But I do like the fact that, like, when you read about, the opening scenes, they give you the backstory of the scientists and stuff like that. Kind of makes a little bit more sense to put that in there. So, watching the extended TV cut, it makes complete more sense to put that in there. So I thought that was kind of cool. Yeah, I mean, because like what I read, the film opens up and it's like the board meeting. I'm like, well, what the fuck? Like you're missing like this whole opening scene. It's like it's kind of essential to the story, but so it kind of makes sense. But thank you, Jack Hill. So, I enjoy this film. I like I said, my biggest criticism has always been like I feel like the Wasp Woman doesn't show up enough. She's only in a couple scenes towards the end of the film. But again, this like it's weird because it feels like a 1959 slasher film, doesn't it? Like people are getting picked off one by one slowly throughout the film, and it's totally bizarre to me. But
it's a very tight movie. It's what you kind of expect out of a film from this era, sort of like the mad scientist, like atomic, even though there's no atomic shit in this movie, but like same sort of style of movie, atomic age horror, which I really like these movies. Honestly, I'm really looking forward to further diving into 1959 just because I think that these movies are so good for like, Saturday night at like 2 a.m. type movies, you know what I mean? That just ran on cable, some like public access channel or something. I love stuff like that, it reminds me of, it's very nostalgic to watch these movies late at night.
No, I agree, man. I love watching these old, 40s and 50s movies, like especially the 50s atomic age films late at night. I feel like you're bang on with that. They're like that time appropriate.
And there's so many of them from this year too. Like this year has like such a late night B movie vibe to it.
Yeah, if we get more movies like this year, like I'm cool with that.
Yeah, I mean, well, you got Attack of the Giant Leeches and the Gila Monster, and there's a ton of these type of movies. Even isn't there Curse of the Fly this year as well?
Yeah, Curse of the Fly here. I mean, there's lots.
I've seen that one before. That's one of the ones I owned.
Yeah.
Actually, no, I haven't seen that one. I've seen the original Fly. I haven't seen Curse
The Giant Behemoth is from this year, man. Yeah, there's lots of good ones.
Should be fun.
North by Northwest is from this year.
Does not qualify. Well, it doesn't for me anyways, but
no, it's not going to qualify for me. I thought it was just funny to say that. I was like, kicking off the year right.
I have a big blind spot this year. I've never seen House on Haunted Hill.
Shut up.
I've seen that a couple of times.
But you've seen the remake.
I've seen so much of it though that I feel like I've pretty much seen the movie.
Have you seen the remake?
Oh yeah, I love the remake.
On this set, right?
Man, I still think the remake is the most bizarre thing ever. That Chris Kattan had a role in that film. Like, where the fuck did that come from? Explain that.
I used to think that was so fucking scary when I was a kid. And I remember right when
Chris Kattan was in the film. Me too.
Yeah, I thought when I was a kid, I thought that movie was so fucking scary. Like I always had like a memory of that movie.
Dude, I was so scared of them going down in the basement, dude. I did not want them.
I remember having like a memory of being terrified of them. I was like, "No, this movie's good." And I remember then like I kind of like gone to like I kind of really wasn't collecting much, probably in like the mid or late like 2010s when like Scream Factory dropped, and then when I moved to my house in 2018, like I kind of jumped back into collecting, and that was one of the ones I saw they had put out in like that time period I was out. I was like, "Oh no, this movie was good. Like I'm definitely buying this." And I got that, and then I watched it again, and I fucking hated it.
I mean, I still like it a lot, but it definitely, when you're a kid and it like 8 years old, it definitely hits harder.
Yeah, like I remember being like seeing that on TV and like legitimately getting scared of that movie when I was a kid.
Yeah, but the Wasp Woman, I think it definitely is enjoyable. It doesn't overstay its welcome. I agree with Moodz that it could have had some more Wasp Woman stuff in it, but most of the films of this time were not. They didn't show the monster a ton. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I really like. I kind of was satisfied. Like I did like the mystery of it and like kind of like the eventual. Like you knew where like this movie was going. Like kind of immediately, and I kind of did like seeing that like journey into it. Like yeah, it's like I'm probably like close to you guys. Where it's like it's not like the most incredible thing to see, but it's like a fun little like piece of like the era that's like still enjoyable to watch today. Like this is something like it just like it feels like educational to me, like knowing like watching like this thing that people would have like watched in a drive-in like 60 years ago.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it's cool. Like the drive-in that I have in my era probably showed this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, most definitely.
I think it was around back then. How old is the Brownsville drive-in at this point?
Yeah, he definitely was on that jazz tip though, because like in this film, like there's definitely a little bits of jazz music in this. So he probably filmed these two movies back to back. I mean, little cuts from jazz in there. I'm thinking, but
possible for sure. They hired him to maximize it's like their budget.
Yeah. But I mean, that was consensus with Corman is like he literally would go on to the next movie like right away, like just back to back. Like there was no time periods between. So,
all right. So my drive-in opened in 1949.
Yeah, so probably
75 years.
It's still going.
Yep.
Yeah,
3 screens too.
I have one here. I have what is there? How many drive-ins? We talked about this in North America. There's like what 40 left in North America. 45 or something like that.
Let me see.
There's like 300s left in the country in the US.
Oh, okay. So I've got one in my town actually, which is crazy.
But there used to be in the height of it, there was like 2,500.
Yeah. I think.
And honestly, a funny thing is like a good chunk of them are in PA.
Yeah, mine opened in 1954.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. A second screen was added in 1998.
Yeah, mine has 3 screens, which is pretty rare these days.
Mine's got 2, and they usually. I've only been there twice because it's like it's like an hour and a half, like hour 40 minutes away, and it's like not a fun drive.
Mine almost shut down back in like 2018 when studios said they were no longer shipping like film, and it was like all digital. So the projectors were like $100,000 each, and we needed 3 of them.
That fucking sucks.
Damn.
Yeah, so it almost shut down. They almost gave up.
Yeah, this place would still. I saw Nope there. That was like the last movie I saw there.
I saw a ton of movies growing up. Like I remember going to see Freddy vs. Jason.
Yeah, usually I've only been to this place twice, and usually what they would do is like they'll have a kids screen and an adult screen. Like the last time I went, which is like when I saw Nope, it was like Nope in the black phone. In the first,
I remember seeing some movie there, and another screen was showing American Wedding. And I remember just being a kid, like just staring at tits.
Oh, American Wedding is so fucking funny, dude. That's my favorite one in the whole fucking franchise, man.
I love the 4 originals. They can never
like
make
those
movies.
American Wedding is fucking dude.
I like they diluted them down with like those like direct to like blockbuster sequels.
The spin-offs. Dude, honestly, those aren't that bad. Like I rewatched those a couple years ago, and
the first one I think is not good. The one Band Camp, I don't.
Yeah, the band. Yeah, I saw that one.
I think the one after that though is good. I forgot what it was
Naked
called.
Mile.
The Naked Mile. Yeah, I think the Naked Mile.
I saw that one too. I saw that too. Yeah,
that one was
the
funny.
third one is Beta House.
The third one was like Book of Love or something.
I thought it was Beta House.
Dude, Beta House is Van Wilder too.
My favorite shit, man, is the fucking scene with Stifler when he fucks up their boats and he just over.
Oh my god, when Stifler bangs Finch's mom at the end.
At the end of every movie.
Oh my god!
Stifler gets his revenge and bangs Finch's mom.
I totally forgot about that.
Finch's mom was Rebecca De Mornay.
Nice.
Oh, nice.
That's where MILF came from, bro. I never heard of a MILF before American Pie.
No, that's actually literally where it comes from.
I remember people losing their mind about
they coined that saying
when I was like 8. I finally got to see it when I was probably like 13, and that was like a rite of passage movie you had to see.
Yeah, I saw American Pie, the original one in the theater.
I love that. I've watched I saw
American Reunion.
Me and my friends love those movies so much that when we were in our teens in like 9th grade, we made a pact to lose our virginities that summer. You know what I mean? And like,
what, you hadn't lost it by 9th grade? Fuck, Jesus,
dude. How old are you in 9th grade? I didn't lose it till I was 16.
It was funny, man. I was 14. I was 2 months before my 15th birthday, so I was in grade 9.
Yeah, so we made a pact, and all of us.
I would have been grade 9. So I would have been grade 9 summer.
I would have been the summer going in. Yeah.
All of us succeeded. All 5 of us.
Yeah,
crazy.
I was 3rd.
I feel like high school was
I had a
the
late
first
birthday,
time like you're really like exposed to hoes like back then.
We were trying our absolute.
You can't say that now. You can't say that. I know you can't
say that, but like, let's be real. Like, that was the difference. Like, so you got to high school, you got a bunch of girls that had like raging hormones, and they were just like, "I'm in high school now."
Dude, I would hate to be. I would literally hate to be a kid now because like all the like rules about like I would be fucking canceled because
kids don't have sex anymore because kids don't
girls
even
used
fuck
to
each
play
other
hard
in person.
to get and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like, so you had to like work, but now you look like a predator.
You're right because you're right about that because like now people just like talk like on the internet.
No, they literally don't see each other in person. So there's no
like days without like talking to anyone that disagrees with them about anything. Like back when we were in school, we still had to like go fucking talk to people. And,
I bet you the average kid that's having sex nowadays is like super older because again, they just don't see each other in person. It's all internet
I didn't
shit,
think about that.
That's fucked up.
But yeah. So anyway, Wasp Woman.
I don't really have a lot more.
I'm pretty good on it, honestly. Me and Tyler talked a little bit when you stepped away.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's decent. Tyler, what's your rating on it?
I feel pretty similar to this one as I did about Book of the Blood, but I did enjoy this one a little bit more, and I'd rather watch this one again if I had the choice. So I'll give this one a 6.5.
Really?
I like them about. Oh wait, it's Moodz.
Yeah, I'm actually at 6.5 on this one too. I like this one a little bit less than Bucket of Blood. I mean, it has elements I like. I think this one feels a little bit bigger to me, even though the Wasp Woman looks like super cheap, like you just picked up a Halloween costume from like Dollar General. Can't say that word right now. But that's not really the point. I mean, the narrative's pretty cool. It's good. It's got a lot of things going on in it. And, one thing I want to mention though, like they say the term crackpot in this film quite a few times. Where in the living fuck did that saying come from? Does anybody have any background on the word crackpot? Because when you actually think about it, it's so bizarre. Like it's referring to something that's, crazy or whatever, but like where the hell did crackpot come from? I don't know. It was making me laugh because they say it like multiple times in this film. I'm like, This is 1959 and you're talking about crackpot. I'm like, where the fuck did this
All right, I got you. The origin of the word crackpot is uncertain, but it is believed to have originated from two words, crack and pot. In the 1600s, cracked was slang for a person with an impaired mind, while pot was slang for head. So some have attributed the origin to the word of Crackpot Village in Yorkshire, England, while others have attributed to Crackpot, another village with a different spelling. However, the first recorded evidence of the word is in hyphenated shape. According to some sources, the word crackpot is merely the hole where the crows gather. So it just means a stupid person.
Yeah, I mean, I get what it does,
old
but
English
like,
slang.
I was so like, it's just such a weird term to me, crackpot. I don't know, it's so weird. But yeah, so 1600s in England, yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Fucking, that's my background. I'm 100% English, so.
I was hoping it would be something crazy.
Yeah, no, it's not. But I'm at 6.5 on this one. I mean, I prefer to watch A Bucket of Blood, but this is honestly a really fun double feature, man. I mean, if you got 2 hours to spend, fuck, dude, Bucket of Blood, Wasp Woman, what a great double feature this would be at a drive-in, man. One of your guys' cool drive. I have one too. They just probably would never show it though. But
so yeah, I like this one about the same as Bucket of Blood, so I'm gonna give it a 7 as well.
Cool.
Right.
Yeah, that's Roger Corman double feature from 1959. Director's Spotlight, whatever we're gonna call it. I have no idea.
Probably Director's Spotlight.
The Corman Collection.
Which is, I just feel like I feel weird calling Director's Spotlight because we did 2 films, but it was kind of selfish because
we started Director's Spotlights with 2 films.
Yeah, I guess we did.
You can call it
The
Corman
first
Cuts.
handful were 2 films: Ryan Nicholson, Wes Craven.
Right.
Corman Cuts.
But yeah, so yeah, we might do more shows this before we actually take a break. We're not 100% sure yet. This one kind of came together quickly, but we might have something next week for you guys.
Yeah, there's an idea. We can possibly get down and record it for sure. So we might do that. So, I mean, extra episodes are probably a good thing.
Yep.
I'm down.
So
yeah, I mean, that's everything. That's it.
Yep.
All right, guys.
So we'll see you guys next time.
That's everything. That's episode 263. Check you guys next time.
Peace.
That's all, folks.
Game over.